This is, I told you in the meeting, it's like you run out of things to say when Tiger Woods was in his prime. That's where we are with Mahomes. I mean, he's accurate, but what are we worried about for Mahomes? The concern with that left tackle, as he gets hit, he's able to make that throw almost against his body, and look at the location of that football, and a heck of a job on the back end.
It would be a 50-yard field goal from here. Drops it. Flag is thrown though. Flag will stop it. 4 seconds went off the clock, but what is the call?
This center just, he's a rookie. He snapped the football. I don't know what he thought he heard. The Raiders weren't even lined up. It's got to be on the Raiders for not even having a chance to get lined up.
Illegal shift on the offense. That penalties decline. The Chiefs did recover the backwards pass and take over first down.
Whoa, on top of it.
Wow.
All right, a post-Thanksgiving weekend Monday edition of The Zone. Still a victory Monday for one of the local teams in football and the Chiefs. We'll get into a lot of that, how the Big 12 shook out this weekend. The Big 12 was so crazy. Obviously, we'll get into some Chiefs today. But
how crazy was it?
Thank you. I mean, take my wife. No, seriously, take my wife. The Big 12 was so crazy that it came down to the last 4 games of the entire season. The last 4 games, the conference championship game was not decided until the final 4 games were played, including the last game, including 7 minutes to go in the game. In the final game of the Big 12 season, we still didn't know who was going to be playing in the Big 12 championship. That's how crazy this season was. So we'll get into some of those things. It is Iowa State and Arizona State, what everybody predicted at the beginning of the season. Arizona State to play in the Big 12 championship against, of course, Iowa State. So we'll talk about that, of course. The SEC has theirs figured out and lobbying for, I think, 11 teams to get into the college football playoff. I think that's how
it's
many?
Actually all 12. It's weird.
Yeah.
They said just do an SEC
that would make sense.
battle royale.
SEC is actually lobbying and talking to the Big Ten just to split away to have their own tournament and figure out who the real national champion is between the Big Ten and the SEC. Maybe that's just Lane Kiffin lobbying for that. I'm not sure. But the SEC has their game figured out as well. So we got championship weekend coming up. We got a college football playoff top 12 ranking coming out tomorrow night. Leading into the championship games, we'll have a better idea of what these games will mean. Obviously, the Chiefs get ready for a Sunday night football game against the Chargers, a big one. They can win the West on Sunday night. They have already clinched a playoff spot. There are 2 playoff teams right now. It is the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. Bills are the first team to clinch their division because they play in a crappy division. It's weird, though, right? Although the Chiefs have had this benefit the last few years. We didn't think it'd be the East and the West shaking out the way that it did this year, right? The East was supposed to be really good. The Jets were going to be, a resurgent Jets. The Dolphins were going to build off what they did last year. Patriots, but the Bills, rebuilding, but it's going to be really competitive in the East. And the AFC West, we'll see what Harbaugh can do. You got a rookie Bo Nix, Patrick Mahomes. You got Antonio Pierce and Gardner Minshew. The Chiefs are going to run roughshod over the AFC West. And not that they haven't. It's just the AFC East and a team that has one more loss than the Chiefs do. They have already wrapped up their division in the Buffalo Bills, and they have played some dominant football this year. They've played some awesome football this year. That is the perfect Buffalo game last night. It is the nightmare for the San Francisco 49ers, and it is a dream for the Bills. And looking back, I'm not sure there was ever a quarterback. We talk about quarterbacks getting into perfect situations. Obviously, Patrick Mahomes being drafted by the Chiefs with Andy Reid and the way that the organization was that Patrick Mahomes was able to come into. If he was a Bear, probably different. Was a Brown, probably different. Panther, all of that stuff, right? So it was a perfect spot for Mahomes and Andy Reid, for Andy Reid to allow Mahomes to be Mahomes and not change him and go, well, actually, your footwork should be this, and you should be doing that. And we don't throw across our body in the NFL. That's not what we do. We can't do that. I don't care if you got this ain't, you know what? this ain't White House High School anymore. You're in the NFL, so you better learn how to throw the ball the way that we throw the ball, son. I'll go and put Alex Smith. We don't need to trade for Alex Smith. You got to throw the ball across your body. Like Andy Reid was like, just do what you do. You know, this is going to be fun. But a perfect marriage might have been Josh Allen going to Buffalo. A guy that played in Wyoming, played in the snow and the cold, and then goes to Buffalo and looks like he enjoys playing in those elements more than any other football player, quarterback that I've seen. Like, embraces.
Snow angels after the game.
Dude, I mean, Mahomes says he loves snow games, and for whatever reason, he growing up in Texas, not sure why he likes playing in the snow, but he does. I mean, Josh Allen is probably the perfect quarterback for the Buffalo Bills and playing in those elements.
The three best snow quarterbacks, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jameis Winston.
Okay. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow.
Well,
I went to Amazon. I ordered a W. It's going to be here tonight. That's how quick it is. Oh, really, Jameis? Because I ordered an iPad on Wednesday that was supposed to be here on Saturday, and as Saturday at 2:30 in the morning, it's been sitting at an Overland Park Amazon carrier facility, and it's expected to be here by December 5th.
Well, talk to Jeff about that.
It's the second.
Talk to Jeff about that.
Bezos?
Yeah, talk to Jeff.
Hey, JB. Hey,
Jabes.
Jabes. Hey, Winston, how did you get it by 9 o'clock? You got a W by 9 o'clock that night. This was supposed to be here on Saturday. I ordered it on Wednesday. It's supposed to be here on Saturday. And it's not going to be here. Maybe it'll be here by December 5th. It's been sitting in a carrier facility since Saturday at 2:30 in the morning. Anyway,
there are certain.
I just sort of ordered. I should have ordered a W. That's the problem.
There are certain plays and certain moments that fit what that player is. Whether it's Patrick's left-handed throw, some of the scrambles that he finds guys in the back of the end zone.
The flip to Jerick McKinnon in Denver.
The flip to Jerick McKinnon.
We can name 1,000 Mahomes plays.
1,000 Mahomes plays. But I don't know there's ever a play that represents a quarterback better than the throwing touchdown and the receiving touchdown by one player on the same play.
Yeah.
That's what happened with Josh Allen.
Great.
And what made it even better was it was a bad throw originally.
It was.
It made because Josh Allen is a great deep ball thrower, very strong arm, but he fired a ball. Amari Cooper, I have no idea how he caught it in that snow.
Or how the ball didn't take his right hand right off like a piece of glass.
Just
like
rifled it.
Frozen hand, like we've seen in like Terminator, where it's frozen and it hits it and just breaks off. Of course, in T2, it just grew right back.
Well, of course.
It just grew right back. It's not a big deal.
It's like it's like a lizard. It's like that's how you do. It's a salamander.
That's right. I don't know how Amari Cooper's hand stayed there and then stopped the football and was soft enough to not only stop the football, but to still be able to control it a little bit. That's a whole level of hand-eye coordination that regular humans can't imagine.
And then the referees, I don't love giving them credit, but they didn't blow it dead because I thought they might blow it dead for forward progress being stopped because three guys around Cooper, it looked like it was getting pretty close. And then
Derek Johnson wasn't sacking the quarterback, so it was not
good call.
Progress, obvious.
Good call. Was that Jeff Triplett?
Triplett.
Who retired, I believe, directly after the game.
Yeah.
Shockingly, the Chiefs don't get all the calls.
NFL, we thought, was making forward progress with their officiating after Triplett retired, but that was not the case. Keep going.
And the wherewithal to get Travis Kelce incarnate into Amari Cooper's body to look around. And then, of course, it's Josh Allen, of all people, getting the pitch, the hook and ladder, and the dive. Just everything that went into it, the slide in the end zone. That, to me, was the play that when you look back on Josh Allen's career, that should be the play that you say, this was the give me one play that shows you what Josh Allen was. That was the play.
I think they may go back to against the Chiefs in the 4th down and 2 and deciding to run it himself and breaking a couple tackles and taking hits and then carrying a guy into the end zone. But the last couple of weeks we've seen the Bills play because they had a bye week in between.
Yeah.
So the last couple of times we've seen the Bills play, it's been similar to that. Not the way I expected to get an anytime touchdown Josh Allen to cash. It's not how I thought that would happen.
Who had receiving touchdown Josh Allen? What was the plus money on that one?
Touchdown Allen, 1 receiving touchdown without a reception. Who had 7 yards receiving for Josh Allen and a receiving touchdown and a passing touchdown on the same play. He didn't kick the extra point, so I'm not really sure he should get credit for being like, oh, you ran threw one, he caught one, whatever. But yeah, if you're a fantasy owner of Josh Allen, it's pretty legit. You got 2 touchdowns on 1 play.
10 points. If it's traditional scoring, 4 for the throw and 6 for the
or if it's regular
reception.
scoring or non-traditional. I don't know. Is traditional 6 and 6 or is that
6 and 4? It's 4 for.
Was that traditional though? Because I always thought traditional would, like, we always played 6 and 6, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, like 15 years ago,
Well, it's
started being 4 for
too much
passing.
emphasis because quarterbacks.
Yeah.
You know, if you
we still do 6 and 6 because we're traditional. We've been playing in this league since I think 1982 when I was 2 years old.
Quarterbacks are OP'd, overpowering in
That's
your guys'
true.
leagues.
Well, if you play the Superflex, then they can be.
It's even more
then
so.
Then I can understand how.
What is your little gimmick league over here?
913-912-4810. You know what? Let's open up the phone lines. It is the Monday after a Chiefs game. We didn't have a show on Saturday. We decided to take Saturday off after the Chiefs knocked off the Raiders on Friday. We decided to take most of the weekend off, just as the Chiefs did on Friday during the game. They took a lot of the 4 quarters off. We took those 4 days off, Thursday through Sunday. But 913-381-0810, if you want to weigh in on what we're seeing from the Chiefs right now, they are finding ways to win. And the old adage of, like, you know, how many times we've said it this year, you don't apologize for a win. That one you might actually apologize for. Like, I think there may be an apology written to the to the league if you're the Chiefs. Because I tweeted out after the game, I can't explain it. Like, I don't know. Nobody can explain it, what's going on. But the Chiefs are using almost every ounce of good fortune through these first 12 games, and there may not be any left when they get to the playoffs.
No. If this is happening now and we're already getting sinners firing the ball back when the quarterback isn't ready, just get ready for the playoffs. Get ready for Andy Studebaker coming back, and he's gonna a team's gonna try and kneel it, and Studebaker's gonna land on the football.
Maybe
like there's gonna be
it's
chaos.
Like I tweeted out, like the Chiefs do not have 11 wins. The Raiders just got 2 more losses. The Raiders got 2 losses for this game. The Chiefs were not awarded a win. The Chiefs are still 10-1. The Raiders just added 2 losses to their record after this one. It was as Raider of a loss as you'll see, and that was the chiefiest Chiefs win that ever chiefed on Friday. Like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, this is just one of those seasons, and because I have a theory on conspiracy theories that oftentimes.
So you have a conspiracy theory on
I have just a regular theory on conspiracy theories. It's just a theory, you know. But my theory on conspiracy theories is that sometimes these events are so big and hard to sort of wrap our minds around. So the only way to explain it is to come up with some conspiracy that this was all designed in like 15 different levels of a labyrinth to be able to have this happen, because it's the only way our mind can sort of wrap it. It's got to be a conspiracy that's going on here, because it can't be just some regular random coincidence or something that happened along the way. And to me, that's what's going on with the rest of the league. Like, it is frying their motherboards in their minds of the Chiefs finding ways to have fortune, for things to create good fortune or luck, and somehow winning these games. That one was the second time in 3 games? 4 games, because Denver. So then there was Buffalo and Carolina. Second time in the last 4 games where I thought, well, the Chiefs have lost. Chiefs have lost this game. I didn't think that with Carolina. I didn't think that with Baltimore. Although I thought they were going to go for 2 and get the 2-point conversion, which is odd. That I didn't really think. Like, in my mind, I'm like, oh, they're going to get the 2-point conversion. But then the other side was like, they're going to find a way to win. That's fine. They're going to find a way to win something. And I'm like, I still want to see that play. It looked like Bolton hit him. I want to see the feet there, if that was really out of bounds or if that was inbounds. Let's see. I think there were a lot of people that, because I saw a couple of people on Twitter were like, can we see a replay? Because that looked pretty close. And then we saw it and we're like, all right, ball game. Yeah. Bengals, like, they'll find a way to win for some reason. I don't know how, but they're going to. And then, even though they haven't done that, like, there are games along the way that you're like, man, at Denver, they've lost. They lost the game. Once that 3rd down conversion happened, they were taking knees. They weren't going to block the kick. All right, he wasn't going to shank it. They lost. And in this one, they lost, in my mind. Like, they had opportunity after opportunity to find a way. They had first and goal from the 6, down by 1 in the fourth quarter. And they end up getting sacked on third down and kick a field goal. Then they come out with a 2-point lead after the defense gets a stop. And on 3rd and 2, they throw deep. And Worthy wins. And Kelsey doesn't block the blitzer. And Mahomes has to throw it while getting hit. And it was almost there. I mean, if they catch the ball, it's a brilliant play. Like, was it a bad play call? I don't know. Was it a bad play call against the Ravens in the AFC Championship game on third down when they threw it to Marquez for a first down and he caught it? A one-route play?
Yeah.
Was that a bad call? No, that was a brilliant call by Andy Reid. The Ravens thought they were going to run it, and he threw it to Marquez, and Marquez caught it. Boom, Super Bowl. This one, how dumb are you to throw that pass on that play on third down, a one-route play? It was there.
I didn't love it.
I wasn't a fan of it.
I didn't love it because of the offensive line, the struggles of the offensive line.
I wasn't a fan of it. I also thought when they threw that and it was incomplete, I thought, well, Andy's going to go for this.
Sure.
I think they throw that. They call that play because he's ready to go for it on 4th down and 2.
Sure.
And run the ball, or he has something ready to go with Frazier and his analytics guy, and this is what we should do. Hey, we're sitting here 3rd and 2. We should have 2 plays to go. We can throw here, not have to worry about anything, or we can run it twice, or we can throw it and then run it. We can go for this on 4th down. Hear what the numbers say. Okay. And by the way, Adam Teicher with a great question to Andy on Friday about that. Like, do you have a conversation with Frazier? He's like, yeah, we talked. And, that's why we discussed maybe going for it on 4th down. They didn't end up going for it on 4th down. But, like, that play was a terrible play call because it didn't work. It was an awesome play call against the Ravens because it did work.
Sure.
I'm with you. I wasn't a big fan of it.
Well, again, I think it's different when the offensive line had the struggles they had.
And against the Ravens, it might have made more sense at that time because of, well, what was the run game looking like? What was the offense looking like? They weren't moving the ball in the second half against the Ravens. They had those first couple of scoring drives, and then at that point it was playing field position and ball control and complementary football to what your defense was doing. So, hey, are we just going to run this right into, 10 guys at the line of scrimmage and then punt it and give it back to the Ravens and hope the defense gets another turnover? Or, you know what, let's win it right here, put the ball in Mahomes' hands, and let's throw it to the most surefire receiver we have on the field, and that's Marquez.
As we said, playoff MVS is different, though.
Well, Saints MVS is also different. So playoff Saints MVS, New Orleans offs, I'm not sure how to combine those. But Marquez has been one of the best receivers in football the last 3 weeks. It's unbelievable what he's done. But, like, they had opportunities in this game to come away with the win. But, like, it fries the motherboard of people because things just simply happen at the end of games. And whether it's in the mind of another team that they start melting down, or it's the Chiefs believing that there's a play that's going to just be made, even though the play that was made was the other team.
Also, good job by Nick Bolton to land on the ball. I mean,
right. The Chiefs being aware because good job by the right tackle of kicking that out of the hands of Aiden O'Connell. That was perfect because Aiden O'Connell was about to fall on it, and right when he was falling on it, the right tackle was going backwards and kicked it.
A lot of variance happens, and good things have been happening, but the Chiefs the
NFL had the right tackle kicking the ball away from Aiden O'Connell and Nick Bolton landing on it.
But again, the Chiefs probably should be 9-3. That's more or less probably what they should be. They're 11-1. And if you're a fan who gets angry when people are from other teams are bringing up, well, they should do this, you can admit that sometimes things go the Chiefs' way. They some variance has been in going the Chiefs' favor, and guess what? It doesn't matter. Even if you admit it, even if you disagree, nothing changes. They can say that all they want. The NFL's not going to come down and say, that guy on Twitter agreed. You know what that means? Chiefs, you're now 10-2. You're now 10-2.
They're the exact same team right now, the same problems, same issues, if the Broncos make the field goal and the Raiders make the field goal.
Correct.
And they're sitting 9-3, like you're talking about.
Yes.
They're the same exact team right now. The difference is they've won those games, so they've put themselves in position now to still hold the 1 seed. And I didn't tweet it out last night because I just didn't care about, tweeting it. But it was like, watching the Ravens game against the Eagles.
Yeah.
And, leading 9-0. It's like, the Ravens, I feel like they've missed some opportunities here because the Eagles have been a team that, in second half, starts to stranglehold other teams. It's like a boa, just as it just slowly just suffocates you because they can run it. The defense is so good. The defensive line is ridiculous for the Philadelphia Eagles. Jalen Carter is a freaking stud, and they absolutely hit a home run with him at, the 10th pick in the draft.
And Cooper DeJean, all of a sudden. Well, since they put him in the slot, that deep. If you look at when the pre-post, when they put Cooper DeJean in as a starter, it's drastic. The secondary went from one of the worst secondaries in football to all of a sudden now they're not one of the best, but they're a really good secondary. And a lot of that, again, it's not just him, but how they have figured out. And obviously, is it Terrion Arnold? Is that for him, not Detroit? Terrion, I get him and the Detroit cornerback confused.
Wiggins.
No, Wiggins
is Ravens.
Is Ravens, but it doesn't matter. The other rookie cornerback with him, the secondary for the Eagles has been just much improved as the season's gone on. And you're right. Then you're forced to throw. The pass rush comes at you, and these cornerbacks and secondary has been much improved over the second half of the season. It's tough.
And the Ravens had a 9-0 lead, and it felt like they could have taken advantage of the early start and momentum and what their defense was doing. They didn't do it. But I almost tweeted this out last night, that the Chiefs are 11-1, and their margin of victory is razor thin. The Ravens are 8-5, and they've lost their 5 games by a total of 22 points. So what would you rather be?
Quinyon Mitchell, by the way. Quinyon Mitchell. Terrion Arnold's for Detroit.
It's for Detroit. You had that right when you and I'm like, I think he's there, but you start to question yourself. Wiggins was definitely on the field last night. I know that. But what would you rather be? The best 8-5 team in the NFL in the Ravens, or the worst 11-1 team we've ever seen in the Kansas City Chiefs? Yeah. Every single team in the NFL would choose to be viewed as the worst 11-1 team because you're winning these games. And are they closer than they should be? Certainly. But here's the thing. Ravens can talk trash about the Chiefs barely beating the Raiders and Panthers, but the Chiefs can also talk trash back to the Ravens and say, yeah, but the Chiefs and Raiders both beat you. So, yes, the Chiefs survived the Raiders. You know who didn't survive the Raiders? You didn't survive the Raiders. You also lost to the Chiefs. And you've got these losses by 22 points, and your kicker is broken. For the first time in forever, the Ravens have to find a new kicker. They have to.
Yeah.
You cannot move forward with Justin Tucker as your kicker. He's not Justin Tucker anymore. If you changed the name, you would have cut him last week.
Oh, 100%.
But it's Justin Tucker, so you keep throwing him out there, and he keeps missing. He barely made the extra point at the end of the game.
Yeah.
The thing slid right inside the right upright.
He should not have missed. It correlates.
He came at the king, and he missed.
I mean, I'm only slightly joking when the whole him, Holmes, and Kelsey in the playoff game. But I can't think of any other reason outside of injury that we don't know about of why Justin Tucker is, because he's in his head. You can just tell. He does not look confident. Even when he made the 50-yarder, normally he gives a fist, but he looked like he was exhaling.
Right.
Like he does not expect to make kicks anymore.
Yeah, every kick that he makes is oh, thank God.
Yes.
And every kick that he misses is, well, I knew that was going to happen.
Yes.
It's just totally in his head. And look, you get embarrassed like that, and then Travis Kelce on his podcast with millions of listeners calls you a B. If you want to be a B about it, maybe it breaks you. I'm not sure. Let's bring in Jerry to the conversation, and then we'll take a break and continue talking about this Chiefs team, what we saw in this game, how the devil magic is working for this Chiefs team.
Alcides Escobar.
Alcides nuts.
Where's
Jerry, go right ahead. What's on your mind? You're up, sir.
Oh, there are so many things, but I'll keep it short and sweet. The Chiefs, I was mad about the game because all the good things that happened during that game, like Xavier Worthy turning his hand into a spatula to catch that ball, I thought it was good right off the bat. I don't know if you remember that or not, but that was really cool. Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, I guess. But then Travis Kelce with his, I told my brother, I said, I think this is a good time for Travis to bring out a lateral, and that very play he did it, and It worked. And then Josh Allen goes and tries to steal the sunshine and has such a great play. I'm giving him a pass. He's really good.
There was no sunshine last night, so if there was sunshine, Josh Allen stole it. You're
Bill
right.
Withers actually sang that, I believe.
Yes.
That's why I thought it was funny. But my most important question to you, after seeing everything, I'm glad the Chiefs won the game, but I'm going to Dallas. Do you think that for Dallas Cowboys to win their first game at home, that Jerry Jones could consider this an absolute glory hole? And I'll let you go at that.
Jera, thank you for the phone call, man.
Thank you.
903-388-1082.
Glory hole.
Yeah, they finally got a win there at home. All it took was the Giants to show up.
Great call, Jerry.
And a defensive touchdown to go along with that. And 6 sacks on Drew Lock. That's all it took to win by 7 against the Giants on their third.
Drew Lock, did Darius Slayton hate him? Did Darius Slayton have money on the Cowboys?
I think Darius Slayton just hates his position right now. He's been with the Giants this long, and trade deadline, people were talking about Slayton going different places, and he never got traded, and now he's stuck there in New York.
Drew Lock threw a ridiculous deep ball to him, and Slayton's like, "Nah, I'm just going to go ahead and get some alligator arms."
That's the Drew Lock and Jameis Winston experience. Is that he's got so much talent, that he can make that throw. And then he throws it right to a defensive back at a different point in the game that's a pick six. And you're like, what the hell are you?
He threw that screen pass that you're like, don't throw that.
Why would you? What do you do? Come on, Drew.
It was a great play by Overshawn. I mean,
sure.
That was one of the better defensive touchdowns you will ever see.
Yeah, it was legit.
Most of the time it gets knocked down.
But that's not the only one we've seen, unfortunately, of Drew Lock at times in his career when he's been.
Decision-making is the issue with Drew.
He had almost a couple of different rushing touchdowns in the game, too.
Yeah.
I'm really happy that he got stopped at the half-yard line because I had Tyrone Tracy as a first touchdown scorer. But that's fine, too. Drew Lock looking out for everybody. Lee Summit boys in the house. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. We'll keep talking about this Chiefs team. We'll hear from Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Charles Omenihu, Trent McDuffie, Chris Jones with some great points about the NFL and the schedules that we've talked about before. But I also think there may be something to what Chris Jones is talking about. Ian Rappaport with a Hollywood Brown update, little piece of good news. Chiefs got 2 players back in the game on Friday. Both of them came out and played well, and you saw the little morsels of what they had been missing, and they may be a couple of games away from getting another playmaker on this team. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. 810 if you want to weigh in. Open show until noon when we talk with Field Yates, our NFL insider. I want to hear from Patrick Mahomes here. This is clip number 5. And, there were opportunities in this game, as we talk about a lot. I've often compared red zone in different games, red zone success, to like 2-out RBIs in baseball. That if you're the team that's coming through with 2-out RBIs, you're probably winning that game.
It's a great call.
You get a few 2-out RBIs, boom, you're done. You're converting in the red zone and the other team isn't, you're winning that game. The Ravens, again, were playing some good football early on. They weren't taking advantage of how much of control they had of that game early on. And the Eagles, were just sort of there, and then boom, they turned it on and the game was over. The Chiefs had opportunities in this game multiple times to pretty much put it away and maybe rest in the fourth quarter. But they didn't do that. Here's Patrick Mahomes, and he was talking about why the offense currently, at least in this game, was not performing up to the standards that they feel it should have been.
It's just missed opportunities at the end of the day. I mean, there's going to be a lot of good. I mean, usually it's better than you think, or it's worse than you think. But there's going to be a lot of good on tape. But we have to just find ways to execute. I mean, there was one I hit Juju kind of on the cover zero blitz. I mean, I hit Trav and Juju was wide open probably for a touchdown. And there's the one at the end of the game with Xavier. If I can just give him a chance to make the catch there, we can ice it there. He goes down at the 2-yard line. We ice it. And so it's just missed opportunities, and we got to execute on those opportunities if we want to get to where we want to go.
There were opportunities in this game. He's not lying. I mean, he's not just making things up. They had the ball it was inside the red zone, and they were up 13-3, and it was 3rd and 3. And that was the play where Mahomes was scrambling, started stepping up, and he threw it to Kelsey, who was running across the field. And right as he starts to throw it, Kelsey then turns back the other way.
Yep.
If Kelsey just continues running, that's a touchdown. He's already got the guy beat. If Mahomes is cocking the arm back to throw it a half second later, he sees Kelsey turning and he throws it that way, and it's a touchdown. It was a missed opportunity. It was the perfectly wrong timing for him throwing it and Kelsey starting to turn before he sees Mahomes' arm going up, and Mahomes' arm going up while Kelsey is still running that way. While Mahomes has people running around him, he sees Kelsey heading that way. He's open. There's space there. There's no reason to turn back the other way. Kelsey did. Sure. It happens. They've had a couple times in the last couple of weeks where they haven't been on the same page like we see them often. Against the Panthers, there was the play where it was a drop, but I think that was a no look. And Kelsey drops the ball and looks at Mahomes like, really need to do that?
Yeah.
But also Kelsey might be looking at Mahomes like, yeah, my bad, dude. Jesus, I know that you do that quite often.
The hard part was, I think there's an easy way to boil this down. If he has more time.
Oh, 100%. That's one of the things I want to get to. Yeah, for sure.
There's one play that I think you could say was clearly a miss that – yes, it's on the offensive line because Mahomes it looked like the Buccaneers game where he went airborne and he flung that ball to DeAndre Hopkins after running around for 9 seconds back there, just with a chicken with his head cut off.
On 3rd and 11.
Made a phenomenal throw, and DeAndre, of all players, dropped that ball. That's the one where I go, okay, time or not, that ball was out and should have been caught. The Kelsey one, I'm with you, but if he had another second.
100%. 100%. Yes. And there's one other play that I want to get to as well.
Yeah.
The Hopkins one, I wrote that one down. So great point that was 3rd and 11, and Chiefs are up at that point, I think 13-3. They were up 16-10 at that point because Hopkins dropped the ball. 2 plays later, they were down 17-16.
Yes.
Because it was a first down run for 11 yards and then the touchdown throw down the sideline over, beating Justin Reed. So Hopkins drops the ball on 3rd and 11. Not counting the punt. So counting the punt 3 plays later.
Yes.
So punt, run, touchdown pass, you're down by 1. That quickly, that happened. Because when you F around, you can find out. And the Chiefs oftentimes in these games have been, as we've said, playing with their food. And you play with your food, now you spill it on the floor, now you're in trouble. All right, just simply eat the food and get done with it so you can go and play and have fun after the meal is over. But that play right there, 3rd and 11. Mahomes does have to scramble around and do those things. Hopkins also has to catch the ball. He'd be the first one to tell you that's the Chiefs losing back-to-back games to the Raiders at home would not be as shocking as Hopkins dropping that ball that hit him right in the 8. That's the most shocking thing I think I've seen this year, is that of all people, the dude caught a ball in the end zone, barely out of bounds, with his index finger and his thumb.
Yeah.
And then drops one in the 8. Like, that's not going to happen very often. But you're right. It started with Mahomes running around and trying to, find a place to throw the ball because he was scrambling. They were up 10-3. Before that, Mahomes and Kelsey, miscommunication. They were up 10-3 at the 15-yard line. And they had 2nd and 9. And that ended up being the sack where Mahomes was scrambling and then dropped the ball. And it was a 21-yard loss. They ended up kicking a 42-yard field goal because it was 3rd and 30. But that was 2nd down and 9 at the 15-yard line. Like, I mean, you have those opportunities that are there. I mean, you're down 17-16. You get to the 4-yard line, and you end up kicking a field goal because of a sack. But what is lost in getting to the 4-yard line is before you got to 1st and goal at the 6, you had a false start by Wanya Morris and an illegal formation by Jawan Taylor. Yeah. That's 10 yards. You overcame those 10 yards by the 19-yard reception to Xavier Worthy. But imagine if you don't have to go back 10 yards. That 1st and goal at the 6 or 1st and goal at the 4, maybe that's a touchdown. Maybe you get into the end zone instead of stopping short and having to run extra plays because you lost 10 yards on that drive when you got inside the 30. In the same set of downs. They overcame that by Mahomes hitting Worthy, but they shouldn't have to overcome a false start and an illegal formation. I get the holding because you're just getting beat by a better player. Max Crosby, you held. You know what? It happens. He's much better than you. You're not going to win every single rep. You might hold from time to time. But the false start and illegal formation has to stop. It cannot continue. And that cost him points. Those are 1, 2, 3 plays that they end up kicking field goals on when they get to the red zone. That all of them could have ended up in touchdowns. It's 9 points as opposed to 21. It's 12 points. Like, you're talking about putting the game away. That Mahomes-Kelsey miscommunication would put the Chiefs up 20-3. Ball game.
Yeah.
Ball game. It is over. You missed it. You kicked the field goal, you're up 16-3. All good. All good in the hood. You're up 16-3. You're fine. Oh, whoops, touchdown. That's all right. You're up 16-10. You're good. Oh, drop ball. Oops, touchdown. Wait a minute. How in the hell are you trailing in this game 17-16? That's what happens. They have missed opportunities. Yes, I totally agree with that. But why are those missed opportunities coming? It seems more times than not, Sterling, they're coming because Mahomes is not having time to throw.
So just the tackles in this last game. Vegas against the Chiefs. Jawan Taylor and Wanya Morris combined for 12 pressures against. They combined for 3 sacks given up, 1 on Wanya, 2 on Jawan. They combined for 4 penalties.
Were those 4 accepted penalties? Because the illegal formation, because Jawan Taylor was also called for illegal formation on the 2nd down and 9 sack where the Chiefs lost 21 yards, but that was declined.
Sure.
I mean, just like...
Jawan was a 51 PFF grade. Wanya Morris was the 30. I mean, you can go on and on, but those are the numbers that stood out to me. Between the two, 12 pressures allowed, 3 sacks, and 4 penalties. That's just not going to cut it. Again, Wanya deservingly so. Sorry, I'm off the Wanya is fine train. I know Mick and you and Dylan were giving me a hard time because I've been team Wanya Morris is fine, and I'm wrong. Wanya Morris had been fine. He's no longer fine.
From time to time, he had been fine.
Wanya Morris is no longer fine. Yeah. Wanya Morris, the last 2 games actually is the most jarring of the Wanya. Like, you look down all the numbers of Wanya and the pressures. It's drastic the last 2 games versus the rest of the season. So I'm wrong. He had been fine. The last 2 weeks, he's not fine. He is a massive problem.
And DJ Humphries, how quick can he be? I mean, DJ Humphries against the Chargers. I think there's an escalation now to get DJ Humphries ready to go next Sunday.
But also,
this Sunday now.
Juwan, you're getting paid $20+ million, and this cannot happen.
Patrick Mahomes was pressured on 20 dropbacks. This is from Pranav Sararam. Patrick Mahomes pressured on 20 dropbacks against the Raiders on Friday, the highest in a game since Christmas Day against Vegas last year. Mahomes also had 5 big-time throws, the most he's had in a single game since Week 15 against the Saints in 2020. So one of my takeaways in that, and we'll continue talking, one of my takeaways is that I don't think Mahomes was the problem in this game. We've heard from times like, oh, Mahomes needs to be better. Well, the pass protection needs to be better. Well, these receivers need to be on the same page. Yeah, all of those things can be true, but without Patrick Mahomes, I think a generic, just everyday quarterback has brutal numbers in this game.
Yes.
And the Chiefs lose, and we're saying, how did they lose to the Raiders? Because the pass protection, they were not giving the Chiefs room to run. The Raiders' run fits were beautiful in this game. They weren't even giving Mahomes space to then create and run with his legs on third downs and second downs and go and do some of those things that he's so good at. Like, they weren't even doing that. They were incredibly disciplined defensive line linebackers in this game, which then they were putting it on, okay, now that it's a pass, pressure the quarterback. Okay, great. We're going up against Wanya Morris and Jawan Taylor. We're able to do that. So even with all that, though, Chiefs had 3 different times they got down into the red zone, and they had an issue on one specific play that ended up costing them a touchdown. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue taking your phone calls. I know we got a couple people on hold. We'll get to you guys right after the break or at the top of the 11 o'clock hour and just take phone calls until noon. 913-381-810-810. Still want to get into some text. 913-912-4810. Field Yates coming up at noon. Andy Reid later on today as well. His Monday press conference. Looking forward to the challenge of the Chargers on Sunday. More Zone next. until 2 o'clock. We will hear from Field Yates coming up at noon. 913-381-0810. Tommy, I know you're holding. I want to give you more time than just the 30 seconds you would have here. So we're going to have some phone calls on the other side of the break as we wrap up this hour. With
Tommy, we care about you. We care about you, Tommy.
That's what I meant. Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. No, we do. 913-381-0810 is the phone number. So we got one more hour taking your phone calls. Your thoughts on the Chiefs, Raiders. Hey, if you want to talk some college football, we can do that as well with the Big 12 being crazy over the weekend. But Chiefs, Raiders, this Victory Monday, they get ready for the Chargers on Sunday. They can officially win the AFC West for, I believe it's the 17th straight year, right? 17th or 18th straight year winning the West. It feels like that. It's 9, right?
Low.
It's 9, right? It seems so. 17, isn't it 25? I think it's 25. They are, I believe, 1 year away from tying the Patriots' record of consecutive years making the playoffs. I think the NFL record is 11. This is their 10th straight year making the playoffs. But, yeah, they will they're going to win the West. They can just do it on Sunday by beating the Chargers at home. You can break out the hats and the shirts and have some fun with that. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Your phone calls next. All right, hanging out on a Monday edition of The Zone, 913-381-0810. We continue rolling. Lots more to get into on this Monday. Set of the phone lines, 913-381-0810. Tommy Moe next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB on this Monday. Tommy, what is up, brother? Go right ahead. What's on your mind, man?
Oh, one thing and one assistant coach. 8 years ago, I called in to Saran and told him about a D-line coach that did not need to be a D-line coach, and I was going, oh, whatever, Tommy, whatever. Well, he's no longer there, and we got Joe Cullen in. And for many years, the Chiefs' run defense was not worth a damn. Now it's pretty respectable. Then about 4 years ago, I said, Dave Tobe, I don't know. He needs to do a better job. Dave Tobe, it's either been feast or famine. We've had kick returns in Super Bowls, but we've had kick returns this season, and in the last few seasons, it's looked pretty bad. Has changed momentum of games. That game on Friday, the momentum swung on that kick return. Now I look at the last 2 seasons. I'm going to ask anybody out there to prove me wrong. There have been 4 times in the last 2 seasons where in the middle of an NFL game, we've seen an offensive lineman pulled and taken out of the game. Last year against Jacksonville, Wan'Dale Taylor. The next game, people don't remember this, but he got pulled in the Chicago game in the first half.
He did.
Now, when Andy was asked about it, he was, I pulled all the starters.
Yep.
You know, you did that in the second half, Andy,
Right.
not the first half. Okay, he tried to play it off like we're all stupid. Twice this year. I ask anybody out there, if they've ever seen an NFL team in a 2-season span have NFL linemen pulled in the middle of a game, and I'd be willing to say it's never happened. That would be like Chad Boger coming in the studio and pulling you out of the studio, you were Saran out of the studio 4 times in the last 2 years. Somebody would lose their job. I promise you that. If you were so bad on the air that Chad Boger had to come in and pull you 4 times, somebody's losing their job. All right? That leads me to Andy Heck. He's the offensive line coach. He needs to coach his people up. I'm not asking him to lose his job. Forbid that. I mean, my God, he'd have to lose his $500,000 a year job and he'd have to go to Notre Dame and probably only make $200,000 a year. Lord, I don't want him to have to go through that kind of poverty. Okay? He needs to figure this out. And to me, take Taylor out. Put Tooney in at right guard, Caliendo at left guard, and DJ Humphreys in it. That's your best O-line right now. And you're going to weaken 2 or 3 spots. Ladies and gentlemen, have you seen Wan'Dale Taylor? Look at his last 4 games. His stats, pressures, penalties, sacks. It's probably the worst in the NFL. All right? Probably maybe as worse as Wan'Dale Morris. So that's what I'm asking. Don't want anybody to lose their jobs. Forbid. I mean, I don't want these guys to go in poverty. But get better, coach your athletes up.
Tommy, let me tell you, I appreciate the phone call, man, and I don't disagree at all with anything Tommy Moe is saying. There is a reputational element to Andy Heck in just simply because it's said, therefore it's accepted that, boy, Andy Heck is one of the best offensive line coaches in the NFL.
I have a little pushback.
Hold on.
I know. I'm just letting you know now up front.
No,
so.
Great. Great. There is a reputational thing with Andy Heck. He will get credit for Creed Humphrey. He'll get credit for Trey Smith. I do think Allegretti improved over the years. I think there are some players that got better. But it's now Wanya Morris in year 2. Kingsley came in, and who thought Kingsley was going to be the starting? Was that Andy Heck? Was that Andy Reid? Was it Matt Nagy? Was it Brett Veach? When they saw him in OTAs, minicamp, and then training camp, and even some preseason games, he looked fine, but they're the ones that are seeing him on an everyday basis, and it took week number 2 for them to go, yep, can't do it. He can't be in there anymore. We're going to go with Wanya Morris, who we thought was the secondary player to this guy. I don't know that Andy Heck is some amazing offensive line coach. I'd like to see more evidence of Andy Heck being some amazing offensive line coach. I know that reputationally people say that – he is one of the best. Maybe he is. I don't know that I'm just going to simply buy in because that's what people say. I think there's plenty of pushback on Dave Tobe, and we've had that, and we've talked about that. But it's then just like, well, Dave Tobe is the best special teams coach in the game. Okay, well, I haven't studied every single special teams coach, so I will offer you that. So maybe Andy Heck is the best offensive line coach in the history of offensive line coaches. But I'm not just buying into, well, this guy's amazing, because Juwan Taylor is not blocking the way that he did with the Jags. He was more fine with the Jags than he is now. And they've had to move Joe Thuney out to left tackle a couple times, but the first time was not. That's not fair, a couple of years ago. But this time they moved Joe Thuney out to left tackle because you've benched Wanya Morris and you couldn't go to Kingsley because you didn't trust Kingsley in the game to go out and play. I mean, Kingsley was active. They could have gone to Kingsley.
Sure.
They benched Kingsley and went to Wanya. They benched Wanya and went to Joe Thuney.
Sure.
So what's Kingsley active for?
My point here is, and again, I don't disagree with everything Tommy Mo said. I'm not saying that Andy Heck's the best offensive line coach in football. I'm not saying that there aren't areas to improve in. I'm not saying that things are perfect by any means. But I'm saying I don't think it's all Andy Heck's fault. I think that he, overall, in his career in Kansas City, he's been here 12 years as the O-line guy. He's been really
been that long?
That's what it said on his sheet was 12 years. That means he's helped with Mitchell Schwartz, who was really good, incredible. The transition of Eric Fisher and the growth of Eric Fisher. How many offensive line changes has he gone through? Obviously, Andrew Wiley, right? Andrew Wiley, Nick Allegretti, Creed, Trey. He gets credit for that. When it comes to Juwan, this is who Juwan Taylor was in Jacksonville. I don't understand why. It's why I had a whole bunch of pushback when he was brought in. It's why I didn't understand it from the get-go. This is who he's always been. This year.
Well, the penalties is who he's always been.
This year's been his best PFF graded season since his rookie season. His second highest ever. It's a 62.
Well, he had.
He's never been.
He had a number of. He had like 4 games in a row where he was really, really good, which could be skewing some of the stats there for Juwan Taylor.
My point is, this is him in Jacksonville overall. Overall PFF grade, 63.7 as a rookie, his best in the NFL. Second year, 56.5. Third year in Jacksonville, 60.4. Fourth year in Jacksonville, 58.7. Why did we expect him to all of a sudden come to Kansas City and be this stud right tackle? I never understood that. Never will.
Because of the pass blocking grades.
Which were a 69, nice, 51.8, a 72, and a 76.4.
Which is better than what he's been the last couple of years.
Correct. This year is his second highest, though, ever in the NFL, 73.8.
And last year was a struggle.
My point remains, I didn't understand that Juwan. So blaming Andy Heck for that, I think you're blaming Andy when it should probably be more on Brett Veach. But you don't want to.
You just called him moron Brett Veach? Jeez Louise.
I said the Juwan Taylor contract.
Yeah, but you said moron Brett Veach.
More.
Okay, all right, I get it now.
Space on Brett Veach. Like, again.
It did sound like you said it should be more on Brett Veach.
I love Brett Veach. He's done a phenomenal job.
You just called him a moron.
Way better job than I ever could do, but this was one move that I never understood and I never will, okay? So, for me, if you're going to place blame more on one person than the other, I'm blaming Veach more than Andy Heck for Juwan Taylor. Because this is who he is.
Well, he's had 33. People talked about how penalized he was in the NFL. Like, yeah, he had 25 penalties the previous 3 years before coming to Kansas City. He had 20 last year and 13 already. He had 25 in 3 years. He's got 33 already. So
he's not improved.
Right. The illegal formations have certainly picked up.
And that's also been more of an emphasis in the NFL.
Okay. So why hasn't Andy Heck fixed that?
Agreed. That's very frustrating and the obnoxious part about it. And
because
then when it comes
Connor
to
Embry was torched last year because the wide receivers weren't good enough. And it was like, well, that's your wide receiver coach. Well, the offensive line hasn't been good enough, and Andy Heck gets a pass.
Well, it's because the interior 3 has been so good that it seemingly...
And is that Andy Heck, or is that because they drafted a guy who's the best center in the NFL now, Trey Smith, that shouldn't have been a 6th-round guard, and they got the best guard on the free agent market in Joe Thuney?
Which is why I say a lot of times it's drafting. A lot of times it's the player. Like blaming him for Wanya and Kingsley's struggles, I'm sitting here going, okay, so you're blaming a rookie left tackle who was... very raw coming out to begin with. Wanye Morris, who was a borderline starting right tackle, was kind of the thought process. Was forced into left tackle duty and expecting him to all of a sudden be a stud. Larry Tunsil.
Be playoff Donovan Smith.
Yeah.
Is what they were hoping he would be. As close to playoff Donovan Smith as you can be.
And the last 2 weeks have shown that he clearly is not there. Again, I'm not saying Andy Heck's the best offensive line coach in football. I just think that blaming him, and I don't know if Tommy Moe necessarily was, but I think it's a also on Veach for the players.
And I think, like Jawan Taylor, because I knew he had a number of games that were really good in a row. So he had 5 games where he gave up a total of 10 pressures. And then the last 2 weeks he's given up 9 pressures.
Yeah.
And 3 sacks. So he had a good stretch. We're like, okay, Jawan Taylor's not the issue. But consistency and him consistently playing at a good enough or an above average level is not there. And the issue with Jawan Taylor is that he's connected to the contract. The same way that MVS last year was connected to an $11 million contract.
Correct.
Well, this guy you're paying $11 million for? I mean, come on. With the Saints, he's so far playing and exceeding his contract because he's on a vet minimum deal. Even $11 million, he'd be out playing that the way that he's doing. But maybe that's a bad example. But oftentimes, guys are connected to their contract.
Well, that's why
Jawan Taylor is connected to his contract. If Jawan Taylor was on a rookie second-round deal like Kingsley, I think people would be going, Jawan Taylor's fine. Jawan Taylor's fine over there.
That's why I was saying that with Wanye Morris. It's why I said but before the last 2 weeks, it's why I said Wanye Morris was fine, because I go, he was a third-round guy. Look at the contract. He wasn't brought in to do this. He's done a fine job.
Yeah.
If that was, again, Jawan Taylor's not doing a fine job.
Yeah, those 5 games.
Rookie contract fine.
Yeah, those 5 games, he had 10 total pressures and 2 penalties. The last 2 weeks, he has 9 pressures and 4 penalties.
The last 4 games, he's given up 6 sacks.
Yeah.
Jawan Taylor.
Yep. It's been that has been a struggle for this Chiefs team. And also, like, Mahomes overall is just getting sacked at a higher rate. Like, it's literally the highest rate in 5 games of his entire career.
Which is frustrating because I think Mahomes is finally starting to play better football at quarter. The first half of the season, I thought Mahomes really had struggling. I mean, if we put it frankly, Mahomes had a really poor first half of the season. I think the second half he's really turned it on and looks more like the Patrick of old. Well, the issue is the offensive line has done a complete 180, and they're now doing the offensive line of the Buccaneers Super Bowl.
The sack percentage for Mahomes in the last 5 games is 9%. I mean, essentially 1 out of every 10 times he drops back to pass, he's getting sacked. And he's one of the best in the NFL at eliminating pressures and not allowing those to become sacks. But some of these he doesn't have a choice. Like that 3rd down and goal from the 6-yard line and Wanye Morris just got beat. There was nothing Mahomes could do. Like, unless he turned into a ghost and the guy just, grabbed air, there was nothing you could do there in this 5-game stretch for Patrick Mahomes. So I was curious about the 20 sacks that that he has been sacked in 5 games. Did you realize that 20 times he's been sacked the last 5 weeks?
Well, I figured it was a lot since he had 5 the last 2 weeks.
But 5 each.
5 each. I mean, sorry.
20 times in 5 games. The previous high before this stretch, because you can also say, well, this stretch had, if you take the game before that and take those 5 games before these 5. So before this year and this stretch of 5, 6 games, whatever way you want to call it, the previous high was 2 years ago, and it was 14. That means in a 5-game stretch, he has been sacked 6 more times than what the previous high for him was in his entire career over 5 games. And in 2022, that sack rate was only 5.9%. In that time, because he had many more passing attempts for those 14 sacks. He's got fewer passing attempts for the 20 sacks, sack percent at 9%, and he's somehow in these games has 11 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, and a 100 quarterback rating in the time. The Chiefs have lost in the last 5 games. Think about this. The last 5 games, because of sacks, the Chiefs have lost 152 yards. Because of sacks in the last 5 games. 152 yards. That is 41 more than at any other 5-game stretch in his career. 41 more yards over 5 games than any other 5-game stretch in his career of yards lost because of being sacked. 152? Chiefs are losing 3 first downs a game. That's 30 yards. 30 yards a game in sacks. 3 first downs a game in sacks and that's just when he gets sacked. That's not when he gets hit or pressured. That's just actually when they're bringing him down. And boy, we know around here the difference between a pressure and a sack. We're very aware of that, very keenly aware of that. Like, I think that is the fruit of the poisonous tree. Like, everything after that starts with the pressure and the protection. And that's why DJ Humphries can't get ready soon enough. Maybe he's not the answer.
Yeah.
But good God, at least they're trying to find one. And I hope he turns out to be closer to the answer, because if Jawan Taylor is just fine, regardless of the contract,
sure.
If you say all contracts being equal, and how does he just play at right tackle? Oh, he's fine. There. Okay, great.
Last 4 games have not been fine, though. 6
Especially
sacks in
the
4
last
games.
2.
Yes.
The last 2 have not been fine. He had a stretch where it was like, okay, he's fine.
Yeah.
At left tackle, if you get Donovan Smith play in the playoffs, okay, that changes so much of this offense. Maybe you can get that from DJ Humphries. Good Lord, I hope. I hope you can. Because they are searching right now. And I don't think Andy Heck just simply gets a pass because of reputation and just go, well, yeah, but these players aren't, they're not ready to go. Well, why not? Why is Wanya Morris saying, the technique was bad? I just got to focus on my technique. He's still doing the same things that he was doing last year that he was getting beat on.
Yeah.
He's still lunging with one-arm punch. Yeah, the defensive ends don't know that's coming at all. Even though they timed it and just swiped away at it and he was toast. Why is he still doing the same things that people said were issues coming out of college? Like, that's a question for Andy Heck, right?
Sure.
So, yeah, I think there are questions. If Connor Embry was getting roasted last year as a wide receiver coach, all of a sudden this year he's fine. Nobody talking about Connor Embry this year, right? So if he was willing, if he was going to be the crosshairs of Chiefs fans' frustrations and the wide receivers, then, you know, Andy Heck, based on reputation, can't just simply get a pass this year and say, well, no, now it's the players. Sure. All right. Well, MVS and Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore, there were some issues last year with those guys. But Connor Embry was the focal point of this is the guy you put at wide receiver coach.
It's because there's so many expectations, I think, with those guys last year. There were so many expectations of Sky Moore taking a step forward.
It was hope, yeah, for sure.
Hope. Hope's probably the correct word.
Either one. I mean, it's sort of synonymous in football. Hope, expectations. I mean, last year when we were talking about these wide receivers, it was kind of the same thing.
And I think with left tackle, I think the situation was it was hope with Kingsley.
It was.
But with Wanya, I don't think a whole bunch of people were super
there was
stoked on him to be the guy, and so
to me there was hope for Kingsley, but I felt there was a level, a floor for Wanya that you could fall back on.
Sure.
And unfortunately, that floor is lower than what I thought it would be.
The floor was what I thought it was, besides the last 2 weeks, which have been again an abstract. I mean, it's a disaster. There's no other way there's no sugarcoating it.
Yeah.
It's been a disaster.
Yeah, they have benched 2 different left tackles this year.
Yes.
Kingsley got benched for Wanya. Wanya got benched for Joe Thuney.
And then Joe Thuney was fine, I thought, at left tackle. It was tough to tell. It was 7 snaps.
Yeah.
Overall, though, Joe Thuney's been incredible. Only 1 penalty given up all season long. 0 sacks given up by Joe Thuney this year. I mean,
great,
Joe Thuney's been outstanding. But again, I think you want that at left guard because that's not the same production you're getting at left tackle. You're really hoping that Humphries comes out and at least is, again, an average left tackle. That is all you are hoping for.
That would be great. 913-810-810 is the phone number. Let's hear from Andy Reid. This is clip number 1, and it goes along with what we're talking about. The decision to move Joe Thuney out to left tackle, putting Caliendo at left guard. But here's Andy Reid talking about the overall offensive line play against the Raiders.
Yeah, so Wanya was struggling a little bit, so moved Joe over there. Caliendo in a guard. I thought it was the right thing to do at that time. Talked to Andy about it. He agreed with it, and so we made that move. And just to solidify things, Pat took a few hits there, and so we were struggling at times.
How disruptive is it to your offense when that position is not solidified?
Well, I tell you, I mean, I think you know this, Sam, but I would tell you that it's disruptive to any offense if the quarterback's getting hit and not able to get the ball off. And so that can be a problem. Now, listen, you're playing against a couple of good players, but you've got to do better than what we did there.
How about Wanye in there a little bit? He was disappointed himself for a couple of penalties as well. Those are things you just can't do in that spot, especially when you're short.
Yeah, good observation. Yeah, can't do that. So penalties are killers in this thing, and then the sacks are killers. So going backwards.
Good observation,
Andy. Yeah, good observation. Yeah, but it was Wanya's observation because he said we just talked to Wanya in there, and he was pretty down on himself about the penalties and technique and everything, and saying that those are things that can't happen. Yeah, good observation. Well, it was his.
It'd be even better if he actually understood it and was still saying good observation to Wanya.
Yeah.
Like it's the conduit in between.
Yes. What stood out to me about that clip and hearing it on Friday evening, whenever it was, I don't even remember, was that what have we talked about when we say moving Joe Thuney out to left tackle? And you're like, well, now, I mean, you got a new left guard and a new left tackle. So I think Sam McDowell used the word disruptive. Like how disruptive that can be to an offensive line when you move two different guys there. And Andy Reid's answer of saying, well, it's pretty disruptive for the quarterback to get hit as often as Mahomes is getting hit. Meaning, yeah, the offensive line could be disrupted. But that's the choice we have to make on the offensive line, because if we don't do that, it's pretty disruptive to get sacks.
Yeah.
Aiden O'Connell was hit 4 times. Mahomes was hit 12 times in the game. Like, come on, man. Like, how? How is this offense having a quarterback that's getting hit 3 times as much as Aiden O'Connell?
The noted great Raiders offensive line.
Yeah. And, like, it's unacceptable.
Yes.
And that's why you move Joe Thuney out to left tackle and bring in Caliendo. And as Andy Reid said, well, it's much more disruptive to keep getting our quarterback hit than it is to move our left guard out to left tackle and bring in a new left guard. Yeah, that's disruptive. But we're playing the numbers here. We're playing the odds here, okay? It's a net gain over not getting our quarterback hit. Let's bring in Mike to the conversation, 913-381-810. Mike, go right ahead. What's on your mind, sir?
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just came from outside, so you guys might have been already talking about this. But everybody knows these tackles are just terrible. And the way you stop that, if they're getting beat, is you leave a running back in, you leave a tight end, and help them out. Now, it's even harder to do when you got 2 bad guys, much less just one. The other way is to run the ball. Why are they not running the ball? Why are they not keeping a tight end or a running back in and chipping? But no, Matt Nagy, I guess he's supposed to be the offensive wonder boy. He throws the ball like crazy, and they lose or almost lose because they won't run the ball. Why are they not running the ball to help the tackles out?
Mike, I appreciate the phone call, man. 913-381-810. I would say
I like that. I like that call.
In this particular game, I think overall it's a good question because I do think Andy gets into the pass-happy element of it. And they handed the ball off 8 times in the first half to Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. They handed the ball off 6 times in the second half to Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. And Pacheco broke off that 34-yard run, and that was great. And that's what we haven't seen from this offense. Like Kareem Hunt's longest run was 17 yards a couple weeks ago, or maybe that was against the Panthers.
And we all freaked out.
Yeah, and Pacheco busts that one for 34 yards. Awesome. You know, that's what he brings to the table is that more explosiveness. But that 34-yarder, he had 6 carries for 10 yards outside of that. Hunt had 7 carries for 15 yards. Like, I think they stopped running it as much because it was just setting up 2nd down and 9. This offense has been typically pretty good at early down run success rate. They weren't in this game. And I credited the Raiders with that early in the show. I thought they did an awesome job with the run fits. even with limiting what Patrick Mahomes could do with his legs and scrambling and trying to make plays. Now, maybe you look at it and go, well, the offensive line should have been better at opening up some of those holes. Okay, great, granted. But it wasn't working for whatever reason in that game. I do think they've tried to chip and bring some help from time to time. On that 3rd down and 2 play, they had the right side overloaded. It was just that, Kelsey didn't block anybody.
Yeah.
They didn't expect him to come free and blitz. Hadn't really been something they have done. And so Kelsey thinks that guy is just going to be guarding him. So then Kelsey looks inside to this guy to block and like, oh, bleep, that guy's blitzing. It's too late. Mahomes is then having to shuffle to his left while about to get hit and just throw the ball down the field and hope that Xavier Worthy runs underneath it. If Mahomes has a little bit more time, maybe puts more loft under it, more touch, and Xavier Worthy runs underneath it, boom, you're up by 9, ball game over. But that wasn't the case. I think at times they've tried to do that, and it still hasn't worked from time to time.
Yeah, I'm with you with the chipping. They don't have a lot of blocking tight ends to begin with on this team. Peyton Hendershot's probably the best blocking tight end at this point.
Who's now on the IR.
Yeah, so it's kind of a catch-22 where they're full of pass-catching tight ends. I am with you as far as leaving a running back in to block. I think that would make a lot of sense. At least help out Chip, all that stuff, because Kareem can do it, Pacheco can do it, Carson Steele can do it. I understand where you're coming from with the run game, how ineffective they were in that 34-yarder. Obviously bolsters the numbers a lot in this one. I still thought they gave up on the run game a little too soon, especially when Mahomes was getting teed off on. You still have the lead, and you're still dropping back and letting him get teed off on. Yes, I get it was ineffective, but I still thought they gave up a little too soon on the run game.
I did feel like also the Raiders were just like, yeah, we're going to bring guys up near the line of scrimmage.
Sure.
Like they've done that. They did it last year. They were one of the teams that were like,
maybe a screenplay. Maybe,
yeah.
but
Right.
it just felt like it was
the Christmas Day. They were like, yeah, we're not going to play shell against you. We're going to bring guys up to the line of scrimmage, and we're going to play physical and dare you to go deep on us. It worked a couple times for the Chiefs. DeAndre Hopkins had the out and up. It was perfect, 34-yard play. DeAndre Hopkins had the sideline back shoulder throw in the one-on-one. That was a back shoulder that ended up going over the top because of the way DeAndre Hopkins played it, but that was 31 yards. Like, they had some plays there. They had Xavier Worthy open down the field. They didn't hit it. And that was the Raiders, again, bringing guys up to the line of scrimmage. Like, they had opportunities that they did not connect on, and that's the risk-reward that the Raiders were playing in that one. We're not going to let you get into 2nd and 5s and 3rd and 1s and 3rd and 2s. We're going to keep you to 2nd and 9s. Or if you want to throw it on 1st down, we think we can beat your tackles and put some pressure on you and make you scramble, and maybe we're looking at 2nd and 10. It was a risk-reward. The Chiefs have made some teams pay this year that have done that and put up points. This one they didn't because they didn't hit on some of those. And if they hit on that Kelsey touchdown, they're up 20-3. And it's like, well, the risk-reward didn't work out. You put Kelsey one-on-one. You brought some guys, and on 3rd down and 3, Mahomes hits Kelsey. That's what they do. Ball game over. It's 20-3 in the second half. Good night, game over. And rest some guys late in the 4th quarter. So they're not playing as many reps as they are, which, by the way, this team and the starters are playing a boatload of reps this year. That's the concern moving forward, is that they're going to play the Chargers, and then they're going to play 3 games in 10 days after the Chargers. And this team is not having games where they can just simply put in the backups. They're not having games where the backup quarterback is taking a knee to win the game like the Bills have had a few times this year. And the Bills just came off their bye week. And then they still have a backup taking some knees in the game last night. So we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Continue rolling. More Zone next. I will continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels, 913-912-4810. Tech says Veach gets a pass on a lot of things, but the tackles, particularly left tackle, are an issue that was not addressed accurately this offseason. Jason, you've referenced that Brett Veach spoke to Mahomes after the Super Bowl versus Tampa Bay regarding the line issues, saying that he'll fix it. They've won 2 more Super Bowls. This feels like the same issues, though. Mahomes clearly uncomfortable with the tackle play. It's robbing Mahomes of his mojo. Tech says Matt Nagy does not call the plays. Agreed. So, I mean, Matt Nagy is the blame for the offensive coordinator.
It was Bieniemy. It's when things go right. Same thing with Nagy. When things go right, you give him praise. When things go wrong,
when things go right,
you give Andy Reid praise. When things go wrong, you blame the OC.
That's right. Tech says, if I missed it, I apologize, but can someone please ask Andy about why he continues to run the inside pitch pass? I heard a collective groan in the stands when he attempted it yet again on Friday. Yeah, that shovel pass, the fake toss to Xavier Worthy, shovel to the tight end, this one to Noah Gray. Like every team is ready for that. I don't know the last time that has worked, actually.
The defender almost looks like it's going to get picked off or knocked down, like the deep
Every
tackle.
team has it in their playbook.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Tech says, gentlemen, I don't know what a Chiefs offensive coordinator does versus OC on other teams, but I bet Eric Bieniemy wasn't just holding players accountable, but also coaches like Andy Heck. Offensive numbers don't lie. Sacks don't lie. Yes, there's been injuries, but not so much to the O-line. I'm not going to throw that last part in there because I don't agree with that. But
there might be something to that, though. Again, Andy Reid's the play caller, and I do think a lot of times when things go right, Andy gets the praise. When things go wrong, you blame the OC. We saw it with Eric. We saw it with Matt Nagy. But there has to be something to it. As far as accountability, I don't know. Would there be less penalties? Obviously, Andy Heck's the offensive line coach, but would we have seen and have we seen less penalties? Is there some of the Eric Bieniemy I don't know. I don't know how much is true versus how much is just.
I've always wondered that about holding the guys accountable. That losing Eric Bieniemy wasn't just like, oh, you lose your offensive coordinator. There was a red ass to Eric Bieniemy that guys knew there was a standard. Now they won a Super Bowl, so I mean, you've got that going for it.
Yeah,
but
it's hard to judge.
Yeah,
when you keep winning, you see the same issues, but the results have been the same.
I think 3 of the 5 on the offensive line have had issues at different times. I think Joe Thuney's been really good and Creed Humphrey's been really good. But Trey Smith has had his issues in pass protection this year at times. And we know we've talked about Juwan Taylor and the combination of Wanya and Kingsley over at left tackle. Secondary play, do you know who the highest graded defensive player was? You probably know this if you've looked at the PFF grades.
I actually haven't.
Joshua Williams.
Oh, you didn't give me a chance to guess.
My bad.
I wasn't going to say him.
Yes.
So,
Dylan, were you going to? Because Dylan pointed at me. Was like,
I did see that. Yeah.
Joshua Williams a 79 overall, 76.6 coverage grade. Najee Johnson was a 49 overall and a 48.4. I spent last week in the 3 days we were on there talking about hey, Najee actually had a good game against the Carolina Panthers, but he's the guy that it's like Najee sucks. They're picking on Najee Johnson.
Sure.
Picking on Najee Johnson.
He's your Wanye Morris. To me,
yeah,
he was your.
But I mean, I understand why there are issues there, and I thought at times he was fine. But the one game that he had a good game was last week against the Panthers. He was not good in this game, and the 2 games previous or prior to that, he was not good. But also, if you see 20 targets and 14 receptions out of 20 targets. 167 yards and 2 touchdowns and 2 penalties for a 128.54 quarterback rating. That's bad, right?
Yeah.
Dylan, you would say that's pretty bad? That's in the last 4 games? 14 of 20, 167, 2 touchdowns, 2 penalties, and a 128.54 quarterback rating against?
Some say not ideal.
That is not good.
Yeah, that's Trent McDuffie, by the way.
Yeah.
Just wanted to point that out. So
he's also not been good the last 4 games.
He has to play better. He has to play better. These last 4 games, he has, but he gets a pass, and it's a little bit like Andy Heck on reputation there. McDuffie gets a pass because if there's a pass caught on McDuffie, it's like, oh, he was there. It's close, but he's McDuffie, so he's an all-pro. It's all good. Najee Johnson, the pass is caught on Najee Johnson. Oh, he was there, but he sucks. He's getting picked on. Get him the hell out of the game. Why is he even in the game? He freaking sucks. I'll tell you this about the Chiefs. They don't mind guys giving up plays. But if you get a defensive call wrong and you have a blown assignment, they will take your ass out of the game quickly if you're not an established player. Because Nazeeh Johnson has gotten pulled twice this year. Both times he's gotten pulled is when he looked behind him and the receiver he was supposed to be guarding was running wide open, and then he turned around and ran and then looked at the safety after it was over. He and Shamari Connor. Same thing happened in this game. He got pulled in that game, and I can't place which game that was, but we talked about that.
Yep.
And he got pulled in this game and didn't see the field again. Joshua Williams came in. Nazeeh Johnson eventually moved back into the starting role, and Joshua Williams the last 2 weeks got 0 plays on defense. 0 plays on defense. Then he comes in and plays all of 13 plays. Hadn't played until he got moved in for Nazeeh Johnson. Then he played the rest of the game, and he played fine. It wasn't that Nazeeh Johnson, well, he gave up a catch. It was that they felt like Nazeeh Johnson blew the coverage. Out.
We'll see who starts week 14 because this
Right.
is going to be...
I have no idea who they're going to go with. Like, no idea. Joshua, they've rotated that spot trying to find it. But point being, Justin Reed, Shamari Connor, Brian Cook, they have not been good the last month.
Yeah.
Trent McDuffie has not been good the last month.
Agreed.
But it's been viewed as, well, Nazeeh and Joshua Williams are the issue because Jalen Watson, when he was in, it was much different. Maybe, but does Jalen Watson in the game, does that change what's going on when they're targeting Reed, Cook, Connor, and McDuffie? Those guys are all getting torched right now. Yeah. They have to step up and play better. If this defense is going to be anywhere near what it was at the beginning of the season, McDuffie was playing at an all-pro level. Reed and Connor were playing fantastic football. But they're getting beat right now. And Spagnuolo has to adjust too, because he's leaving those guys one-on-one with some players against the Panthers and the Raiders, and they're getting beat. So figure it out and adjust, because those guys aren't winning in those one-on-ones for whatever reason. They've lost a step, not as explosive, whatever it might be. There's some things going on right now. And maybe McDuffie is being put in difficult positions because he's supposed to, do this over there. Now he's got to adjust to that. And, okay, now it was a pass that was caught on him. And so that's a target and a reception for 15 yards. And, hey, now he looks bad. I have no idea. It would be Spags and it'd be Dave Merritt. Those guys would be able to break it down and tell you all of those things. But if you just look at the raw numbers and you said Nazeeh Johnson has 20 targets and 14 receptions for 167 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 penalties, and a 128 quarterback rating, you'd say get him the hell off the field. But you change that to McDuffie and you go, yeah, but that's McDuffie. It's all good. It's all good. It has been all good. It has to be better. Guys have to step up their game. Individual players have to step up their game if this defense is going to look like it did at the beginning of the season when they did step up their game and they were playing phenomenal football. We'll take a timeout, come back. More Zone next. Rink Yates.
Rink Yates. Ask him that. Odds are you ask him that.
If he was talking football, it'd be Pitch Yates.
It'd be Vander Rink, because it's Vanderfield, and then he just shortens it to Field, I think.
Wait, is his real name Vanderfield?
I didn't know.
What?
That's
Pretty sure.
True. Oh, man, we got to find that out
I guess we'll find out next.
No, his name is Field Minister Yates.
Of Defense Yates.
He'll help you fantasy focus while he scoops the news. He's on TV more often than he's in bed. He'll break down the NFL without a single hair ever out of place. It's Field Yates of ESPN. Now in the zone with Jason Anderson on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
All right, we'll hear from Andy Reid coming up later on this hour. 913-912-4810 is the text line to join us. A lot of text to get into as well. Chiefs play on Friday. They get the win over the Raiders in the chiefiest Chiefs win that ever chiefed against the Raiders, which is the Raiderist Raider loss that ever Raidered. That combination, those powers combined like Captain Planet, and that was a Chiefs win, or it was just a Raiders 2 losses. I'm not sure. Field Yates from ESPN.
I was going to say, as someone running the Chiefs postgame show, I can't thank Aiden O'Connell in that center enough for botching that snap, because it was going to be a long and very depressing postgame show on a Friday when all I wanted to do was get out.
Yeah, so you got to get out a little bit earlier than you would have had they kicked a field goal and lost the game. So, you know what, everybody's happy for Dylan that he got, he didn't have to work as hard as he typically does. Field Yates, who's always working hard. Joining us here in the zone. Field, what's up, brother? How are you, sir?
I am doing well. Happy December. And, yes, 11-1, no matter how you get it done, still pretty good place to be right now if you are the Chiefs. But I just can't fathom it. It just feels like every single week we are having the same exact conversation. And, Jason, I've been consistent with my stance that, the most important thing here for the Chiefs is not how it looks when they get the job done, but rather do they get the job done and do they maintain the inside track on that number 1 seed in the AFC. And so I want to be consistent because they still do, and I would argue that the Bills' schedule is decidedly tougher down the stretch than the Chiefs is. That being said, Friday did feel a little bit different to me. And the reason why I say that is because, like with Carolina a couple of weeks ago, playing at home, coming off of their bye, and playing better football, I was not totally surprised that the Chiefs had a harder time against that team. I was surprised by Friday just because the Raiders feel like they are playing for nothing more than draft positioning right now, and a team that had looked pretty woeful offensively and was playing a 4th-round pick from last year as opposed to the first overall pick from last year just didn't strike me as nearly as much of an offensive threat as the Raiders ended up being for the Chiefs. So the defense and its struggles over the past 3 games does have my antenna up a little bit. That being said, it is still a week-to-week league. They are still in the number 1 spot in the AFC, and if I had to, I would still categorize them as the favorite to maintain that number 1 spot through Week 18.
Yeah, the interesting part, and interesting, maybe frustrating, maybe head-scratching, maybe there's an explainable, reason, some sort of reasonable explanation there. But the last 5 games for the Raiders, they're obviously 0-5, but they're 0-7 in the last 7 games. But the last 5 games, they have 2 losses by a score, and the other 3 have been by double digits. Those 2 losses by just a score have been to the Chiefs. 7-point loss and a 2-point loss. The other ones have been 17, 15, and 10. They have the other losses that are there. It's just I don't know that that's just sort of random NFL. Maybe they've got the Chiefs number, or that's just simply the Chiefs. Are they like a college team that plays up and down to the level of the competition that they go up against? We talk about that in college all the time. We never really talk about that in the NFL. That's not really a discussion. College, it seems like it's always talked about like, this team's going to play up and down to the level. This Chiefs team feels like it's going to be like, well, however good the team is, we'll just be that a little bit better and get out of here and move on to the next week.
Yeah, I guess the Steelers are the only team that I feel like often does play down to the competition or play up to the competition consistently in the NFL. But I think that's probably a factor. I also do wonder if, and I've just said this before, and I don't know that it solves any of the problems for the Chiefs, but I think it's just the reality is they've got that big bullseye on their back right now. And, teams are going to get up for them. It's a little bit different when you're playing a defending champs than if you're the Raiders and you're playing the Broncos or the Chargers, who are good, formidable teams who both have a real shot at the playoffs this year, but they haven't won 3 of the last 5 in back-to-back Super Bowls. So it's going to sound like an excuse, and I don't think the Chiefs are naive to that dynamic. I think they are certainly mindful of it. They seem, if it's possible, to be a little bit dispirited by this 11-1 start, just because they know that – I think they know what you and I talk about every single week, is that the level of play of late is not going to get the job done when they play a real team. When they play, and when I say real team, I mean when they play Buffalo, or if they play, we'll find out against Pittsburgh on Christmas Day, which is now 23 days away, right? If Pittsburgh brings the kind of offense or something close to it that they brought yesterday, or if they play Baltimore when Baltimore puts it all together, which is not always the case, but they can, right? So I think they realize that, heck, Sunday night will be a good test for them, right? I mean, the Chargers, at their very best, are just this gritty, grimy defensive team that also happens to have Justin Herbert. So I think that's why the Chiefs probably sound the way that they do. And I try to make a habit of watching these locker room videos from after games just to get a sense that
we'll put him on hold and see if we can reconnect with Field there. His conversation and talking about the locker room videos and some of the sound and interviews that come out of the locker room. And, I think the last couple of weeks we've seen sort of the same thing. That, against Denver, just excitement, right? Just elated after that game and the blocked field goal. Against Buffalo, the understanding that, hey, a loss is a loss. You're here in Buffalo. You lost the game. You had opportunities, but you weren't going to go undefeated. That was cool and everything, but we're still going for our main, goal. Against Carolina, they looked more frustrated than anything walking off the field after the game-winning field goal, and the same thing here with the whatever the heck happened there at the end of the game. Field, you were just saying on you cut out right when you said I try to make a habit of watching these locker room videos, and then it cut out.
Yeah, and just to get a sense of how the team feels like it performed, right? And sometimes you hear jubilation, and it feels like a remarkable feat. And then, in the case of the Chiefs, Andy Reid kind of had to start by saying, we can be a lot better, guys, which is objective and truthful. And this locker room's mature enough, and they've won enough big games to know, they don't need to hear after every win, way to go, guys. It's hard to win in the NFL. Any given Sunday is in place. They know, if we play like this when it matters the most, we're going to have a really hard time stringing together, at least 3 and potentially 4 victories in the playoffs to reach and win our 3rd straight Super Bowl. So, this team still, again, I have to be consistent with what I have been saying, which is that, you just got to get there, and you got to get there with, ideally the number 1 seed for this team to be in a really good spot to play in New Orleans in the middle of February. But I will be honest in saying that I did feel like Friday was a slightly different result than some of the recent games that they have also found a way to win.
No, I'm with you. And I said on Wednesday going into it, so it's not, results-oriented. I said on Wednesday that, hey, I'd spent the last couple of days talking about that the Panthers game wasn't all that big of an issue to me because I said on Friday before the Panthers game that I didn't expect this to be a blowout. The Panthers and how they're heading. And look, they darn near won the game against Tampa Bay over the weekend, and it would have been, 3 in a row or 3 out of 4. For the Panthers after winning 2 in a row the bye week and then losing to the Chiefs. But even opportunities there to beat Kansas City. But this Raiders game was different because it wasn't a team heading and ascending and feeling like, this first-year head coach. It felt like a team that was going to be playing out the string, didn't have Devontae Adams, the quarterback coming back from IR, but still benched and starting, and it could be there was a lot of things. The running game, they're missing their top 2 running backs in the game. There's so many different areas and aspects of this one that didn't make sense for it to be a closer game, and yet it was. And I do wonder, Field, is there an element of, we're looking at this team and we're seeing the final score, and sometimes it is just simply that score analysis of, they survived, and we watch and pay close attention to the end part of the game where, Patrick Mahomes said missed opportunities. We had chances, and I went through and pointed out a couple of them. They had a 3rd and 3 at the 15-yard line, and they were up 13-3, and that's when Patrick Mahomes threw the ball to Kelce that was, one-on-one and was open, and that's when Kelce started to turn at the last second, and the ball falls incomplete. Well, if Kelce just runs, that's, 20-3. They're up 10-3 earlier. They're at the 15-yard line with a 2nd and 9, and Mahomes gets sacked. I mean, they're at 1st and goal at the 6-yard line. They end up settling for a field goal. All 3 of those possessions end up getting 9 points when they could have got 21. It is not an excuse of those things will be fine. But I do think there is maybe some context here, not to just dismiss it or put lipstick on a pig, or maybe some context to when Patrick Mahomes says, yeah, we're just missing opportunities here. That, a couple of things. He mentioned a missed touchdown to Juju, that one to Kelce, the deep shot to Xavier Worthy. There are some things that are there. They're just not connected right now. That if they were more connected, that could have been a 30-6 ball game, even though it was 19-17 final.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I do think that this team has earned the right for us to acknowledge that a couple of small things that you would deem executable for them could dramatically change the way that we feel about this game. And if you're looking for a silver lining, I don't know that a silver lining is required, but if you're looking for what is the real version of this team, I do think the remaining 5 games gives us a fairly representative snapshot because while they're not playing Buffalo and Detroit every week down the stretch, what they have ahead is not just Cupcake City, right? You obviously have the Browns game, which is not one that you would deem as a particularly challenging opponent, but you have the Chargers next week. You still have the Steelers on Christmas Day. We'll see whether the final game against the Broncos means anything in Week 18. And the Texans, who, of course, is the final game from division winners last year. So that to me is, 3.5 for now, understanding that Week 18 could mean Week 18 game could mean nothing or something. To have 3.5 real challenges in the final 5 weeks of the season, on the one hand, you might say, well, that's not ideal when you're trying to secure the number 1 seed and you want Cupcake City. On the other hand, you might say, hey, the iron is going to be pretty sharp one way or the other, or at least it has a chance to get sharpened over these last 5 games, because if you don't play well, you might go 2-3 in these last 5 games as opposed to 5-0, which might be the expectation based off of an 11-1 record. So this is kind of, I don't want to call it a reality check for the Chiefs, but it's kind of like a level setting for this team, because there are some legit tests, and this team, I would imagine, will view this as an opportunity for not just seeding, but also, I don't think the word is growth, but it's kind of like stabilizing over this final month of the regular season.
Yeah, and looking at the rest of it, and we'll talk a little bit more as it gets closer to this stretch of 3 games in 10 days. Chris Jones said on Friday at the podium that after the season's over, he's going to meet with the NFLPA and ask him about why they have a Week 6 bye, and then late in the season in weeks 15, 16, and 17, they play 3 games in 10 days, whereas the 4 teams that play those 3 games in 10 days, it's the Chiefs, the Steelers, the Ravens, and the Texans. Pittsburgh had a Week 9 bye, but Baltimore and Houston both have the bye week before they play 3 games in 10 days. And the Chiefs have the bye week 8 weeks before theirs. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is going to feel sorry for the Chiefs. But is there an element of this team, looking out to the entire schedule, and maybe there's some tired legs, some tired bodies, some tired minds as it goes along, and maybe the growing issue of them winning these close games, Field, to me, is they've got their starters playing a lot of reps through these games that they haven't been able just to get some half quarters, a quarter off from here or there, and just not have them play 80-85% of the reps.
I completely agree, and I am a staunch advocate for the NFL equalizing bye weeks, and what I mean by that is they have a 6-week stretch in which you either have 5 teams or a total of 6 teams on a bye. They start a little bit later. They end a little bit sooner. The NFL does not want to have any team on a bye in Week 13 because there are the 3 Thanksgiving games plus the Black Friday game, Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football. So that automatically takes you down 6 games. So you want to have 10 on Sunday still. It's fine by me. You do a little bit of math here. Week 7 through 12 gives you 6 weeks. You either have 5 teams on a bye or a 6. The other provisions of that are, hey, if you have a Week 12 bye, you're going to play Thursday Night Football. It's going to be early in the year. Conversely, you got a Week 7 bye, and you're going to play your Thursday Night Football game at some point during the season. You play it late in the year. Now, I get it. The NFL wants to reserve the right to have its premium teams playing in primetime games when there are playoff things on the line. But I do think it's important to be mindful of the players and the consumer in this regard. The only thing I would say to Chris Jones is that the NFLPA has so many things on its docket that it seems to be focused on. And I wouldn't say their track record of getting things done and sort of upending the league is particularly strong. Yeah. So he might find himself yelling into an echo chamber rather than making really strong progress and change in that regard, unfortunately.
For sure. Field Yates from ESPN is our guest. All right, a couple of quick ones before I let you go. We talk about how perfect the marriage was with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and Andy Reid, and what a great spot to go to. Is there a more perfect player, city, elements than Josh Allen in Buffalo? Because that just seems like it's the perfect quarterback to be created to play for the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah, I think it really was fun to watch last night. Wasn't
really
it? You're
was,
right.
yeah.
What a refreshing question to hear from someone who has radio in Kansas City, because it's possible that multiple things can be true at once. Like, I think the world sometimes loses track of that, where Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City, perfect hand and glove fit, ideal, can't think of anything better. But Josh Allen feels fit for Buffalo. Heck, a lot of that team feels fit for Buffalo, to be honest with you. Guys who seem to enjoy the reality of their situation, which is that you're going to have, probably 2 or 3 games like that every single year. It was a really, really fun atmosphere to watch last night. Not so fun for the 49ers fan, but cool to see. And, I just thought one of the coolest plays of the season. I mean, Josh Allen throwing and receiving a touchdown on the same play was pretty cool. Buffalo's legit. That team's going to have something to say come the playoffs. But as we know, until they prove it against Kansas City in the playoffs, they still got a long ways to go. But last night was a snow globe and fun.
Another quick one for you. Justin Tucker and the Ravens. Do they have to find a new kicker this week? Do they?
I really don't think so. And I know. I think you have to just ride it out. You have to just stand by the player, because you're talking about, inarguably one of the greatest kickers of all time. And I don't have a perfect comparison to it. It's like playing golf with your buddy who's normally a stick and he can't find the fairway, right? Or whatever it might be. It's just very, very difficult to reconcile what's happened with Justin Tucker this season after, a decade plus of dominance at a position where it's really, really hard to trust a player for as long as they have trusted Justin Tucker. So, it's a special teams coach in John Harbaugh. That's his background, of course. My guess is he's not going to be the kind of guy that pulls a quick hook on Justin Tucker. And when I say quick hook, obviously it's been a full season. I mean, when he hits his first really, truly rough patch of his career, you say, let's just turn a different direction. But the Ravens season is one of a team that's so close in so many ways, and yet here we are waking up week 14, and they're 8-5, 5 losses. This is a team that probably feels like it should be better, but they keep finding these close ways to win, or to lose, and that's just not going to get the job done, because in the playoffs, the competition is not going to be easy.
Field Yates from ESPN. We asked the question amongst ourselves: is Field the full name? Is it Dylan said it's Vanderfield, but Field is short for Vanderfield. No. Is that true, or is it just Field? Because I didn't think that your name was Vanderfield, rules or anything like that. But Field, just
it
Field.
Is not. No.
Yeah,
just Field. Yep, first and only. At least in my family, I'm sure there are many others out there. Some out there, at least in the world, but just Field. And if I had more ingenuity, maybe I would have thought of a way to bait and switch you and tell you it was whether Vanderfield or
that's on me.
Or,
well, I mean,
it's okay, Dylan,
just wear it.
All good.
We were also wondering if you would have been born to be somebody that covered hockey, if you would be Rink Field or Rink Yates, or maybe football. You'd be Pitch Yates.
Yeah.
So,
I believe campo is the Spanish word for field. Campo. So campo Yates would have been a great one.
Would have been awesome. Yeah. Do you have a quick thought on Chiefs-Chargers? Who do you think wins on Sunday Night Football? It is a home game for the Chiefs.
Oh, man. It is, yeah. And I just, they got this voodoo. They'll find a way to win. It's going to be a tough test. It's going to be a tough test, right?
Crazy.
It's going to be this one's going to be this will be a good one. I don't care how if they win. I don't care if it's with 12 field goals and they score 36 points. Yeah. No complaining if you beat the Chargers, because this Chargers team is tough, very physical. They obviously played this team competitively earlier on this season. Should not be surprised.
Yeah, they'll win by fewer than 4 because that's the spread. They'll win and not cover, and it'll be some crazy thing at the end where somehow it'll be a conspiracy and the NFL has it out for everybody, but they have gone out of the way to make sure the Chiefs keep winning. Field, thank you for the time as always, brother. Enjoy the football, and we will talk next week.
Sounds good. Talk to you soon, Jason.
Absolutely. There's Field Yates joining us from ESPN, and I just a number of things there to take away from that.
It's not Vanderfield.
It's not. Well, yes, of course.
Dylan
took a shot, missed.
That's
happens.
fine.
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Exactly.
Michael Scott, Wayne Gretzky,
Michael Jordan.
It'll be something crazy. It'll be something crazy at the end. Herbert will have. The Chargers will be trailing by 2 late in the game, and it'll be first down with 30 seconds to go, and it'll be at the Chiefs' 30-yard line, and for whatever reason, he'll throw an interception. instead of just running the ball, like even though Jim Harbaugh would just simply run the ball. But something crazy, there'll be a fumble.
Yeah, I miss Brandon Staley. Brandon Staley could really mess this up.
I mean, it'll be Phillip Rivers-esque, even though Joe Burrow sort of has that more Phillip Rivers feel to it than Justin Herbert does. But he plays for the Chargers. Like, it'll be something crazy here for them to win. 14 straight one-score games the Chiefs have won. It's a little skewed because they were up by double digits over the Raiders in Vegas when the Raiders scored there at the end, making that a one-score game. And had the Chiefs scored late down 9 against the Bills and went for the onside kick, they would have lost that game by 2. It would have been a one-score game. So there are some elements at play here with that. But still, when the final score is within a score, they've won 14 straight.
Some fun with numbers.
Yeah, that is not typical for things to happen. And Justin Tucker,
fun with numbers, you're right, is not fun.
It
typically.
is, for sure. And Justin Tucker, like, he's 35 years old. Like, I know that we say, like, well, father time. Like, he's a kicker that's 35. How old was Vinatieri when he retired? 40-something?
Yeah, 35's not old for a kicker, really.
Right. You've got another 4 or 5 years in that leg at least. Maybe you're not kicking 60-yarders, but this to me is, if John Harbaugh, if they stay with Justin Tucker, it is he's going to snap back into being Justin Tucker.
Yeah.
Like, this is a bad stretch of football, bad stretch of kicking. He'll figure it out, and he'll be Justin Tucker again. He is not lost and done. Vinatieri was 48 years old, so 13 more years from Adam Vinatieri than what Justin Tucker has right now.
Morton Anderson had to be 50.
Like, if you're a kicker, you can play a long time.
Retired in says the article's 2021. He was the Colts kicker from 2016 to 2019. I think he turned in his retirement paperwork when he was 48, but he had already been out of the league for a year and a half, I think.
I see. So let's just say
Morton Anderson was 47.
Yeah, so 45, 46, 47, like, you can kick that long. I'm not saying that Justin Tucker is going to, but this to me is not father time.
This is
we
wild.
see the difference between Travis Kelce at 35 and Travis Kelce at 32.
Yes.
Like we see the difference there, okay? That's father time kicking in. He's still amazing. He's still one of the best tight ends, but we see a fresh and spry Brock Bowers doing what he's doing, and we see the old grizzled vet in Travis Kelce that's doing what he's doing. They're playing the game a little bit differently right now, where Travis Kelce was playing the game a little bit more like Brock Bowers early on, but Justin Tucker's a kicker.
This is wild. By the way, Morton Anderson came into the league in 1982, got out in 2007. Imagine the guys and the changes to the NFL that he saw. 25 years in the NFL. 25. His final year in the NFL for Atlanta. 25 of 28.
That's crazy.
His long was 47. He couldn't really get it going past that, but Morton Anderson, Chiefs legend. Anderson. But Justin Tucker's been on a slight decline, right? Nothing crazy, not this precipitous drop, but, you look at probably in 2019, maybe his peak, 97% of kicks, then 90% of kicks, then 95% of kicks, then 96, then 96.5, and then this year, 70.4. He is 19 of 27, but he's struggled from 50 yards plus over the past 3 seasons. He's kicking more of them, but 2016 didn't miss a single one from 50 plus, 10 of 10. Then 7 of 11, then 7 of 9, then what is that? 1 of 1 was all it was. Must have not many options. 3 of 5, 6 of 6, 9 of 14, 1 of 5, and then 4 of 9 this year.
So he was 15 of 20, 18 of 25 from 2020 to 2022. 18 of 25 from 50 or more yards. This year, last 2 years, he's 5 of 14. And also, he's already missed more field goals this year than in any other year in his career. He's missed 10 field goals this year already. He missed 5
missed
last
8
year.
this year. Oh, are you counting extra points?
No, field goals, he's 8. Yeah. He's not 19 of 20. He's 19 of 27. He was 26 of 29.
He's missed 10 kicks total because he missed 2 extra points.
Missed 2 extra points. And he's gone through years to where, 2019, he missed 1 kick all year. 28 of 29 field goals, and he was 39 of 39 in extra points. Like, he's had a couple of years like that. 2021, 35 of 37 from field goals, 32 of 32 on extra points. Like, he's had, and he was 6 of 6 from 50 yards 13 of 15 from 40 yards or more. Like, that was peak Justin Tucker. But if you keep waiting around and he doesn't turn it around, you might miss the playoffs. Like, that's something that we're not even talking about right now with the Ravens. And I know that it's more of a longer shot to happen because they have a 2-game lead over Indianapolis and Miami and a 3-game lead over Cincinnati, and they would have to be worse than Indianapolis and Miami and also than Denver. You would have to have 2 of those 4 teams pass them. But they've lost these 5 games by a combined 22 points. In those 5 games, now it doesn't all add up to be equal in each and every game, but in those 5 games combined, Justin Tucker has missed field goals that equal out and extra points to 22 points. Now, it might have been 6 or 7 points here and a few points there, but they've lost these 5 games by 22 points, and Justin Tucker in those 5 games has missed 22 points worth of kicks. They're a field goal kicker. They're Harrison Butker away from being maybe 10-3 or 11-2. The Chiefs are Justin Tucker this year away from being completely different, from not being 11-1. Like, that kicker can make all the difference in the world. And if you're just going to go because you've got a relationship with the guy and say, we're going to stay with Justin Tucker, okay, but he better figure it out because he's lost right now. And he was lost last night. And even the extra point that he made just barely made it inside the write-up at the end because he also had the doink, That was a loud one, too. Those nationally televised games have that microphone on the posts.
I'm trying to find the contract. It's spinning. It's doing the little.
Yeah.
It's the washing machine right now.
Great.
Here
Fantastic.
we go. I'm trying to see how many years he has left on his contract.
I hope 10.
He's got 3 more.
Okay.
25, 26, 27, but it looks like there's a potential out. I don't know if you're going to take it. Do you want a dead cap hit of $7.5 million for a kicker?
No.
Some say it's not great.
Some would say I have no idea if that's not great or not. I'm not sure.
Yeah, if you cut him next year, it's a $7.5 million cap hit, dead cap hit. So you're not cutting him.
Mm-hmm.
You might just keep him on your roster, but I don't think you're cutting him.
Yeah.
Because it costs more to cut him next year than to keep him.
The feeling outside of Kansas City, it's amazing what people assume is going on in the city. People that have no idea what we talk about here or what the culture is or the feeling around this Chiefs team is, that just want to assume that there's a certain way about it. And also what's going on in Buffalo currently right now. I want to talk about those two things on the other side of the break. 913-912-4810. We'll hear from Andy Reid coming up a little bit later. More Zone right after this. right, 913-912-4810. Let's get back into the previous hour when we were talking about firing Andy Heck.
Whoa!
Isn't that what we were talking about? Weren't we?
You were.
We were all calling for the firing of Andy Heck. Didn't we all say that you should fire Andy Heck?
Not this guy. Not this rational human being.
Nope, sorry. I said fire Andy Heck, right? That was the conversation that I had, was definitely they should fire Andy Heck.
I believe you said that verbatim.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Fire Andy Heck. Apparently some people heard that.
That what someone said?
Because people hear what they want to hear. Even put it in quotes, fire Andy Heck. You can put it in quotations, fire Andy Heck. Like, yeah, that's exactly the quotations that were said. Luckily for us, it'll be on the podcast, and you can actually go back and listen. And I'll restate it because I'm not afraid of what I said. Andy Heck isn't beyond reproach and immune to any criticism on this team. People spent every single week talking about Connor Embry last year. Every week, how bad Connor Embry was. Okay. So we credit Dave Merritt with how good he is, and we've credited Andy Heck with how good he is. We've credited Dave Tobe with how good he is. Connor Embry was crosshairs. He's terrible. He's awful. That's the reason why the wide receivers weren't any good. It can't be because just the players weren't any good. And now this year, the players have been substandard on the offensive line. Trey Smith has not been good in pass blocking. Wanya Morris and Kingsley have both been bad at certain times, like awful. They've been pulled from the game. Yet Andy Heck is just fine. Like, now we can only... Like, I can't stand the whole, Matt Nagy, offensive coordinator, let's clown him. Same reason why I pushed back on the Eric Bieniemy is the reason why this team isn't, performing. Or all the bad games, it's Eric Bieniemy was calling the plays. Like, it's so stupid.
Yes.
We know who the offensive coordinator is, and it's Andy Reid. If Eric Bieniemy couldn't get a job because he wasn't calling plays, then why is Matt Nagy being criticized because he's not calling plays, or that he is calling plays? Are there things that he does as a coordinator of the offense that maybe Eric Bieniemy did differently? Sure. I would say that there could be those things. I'm not in the building, though, so they would have to be the ones that would tell you if there is a difference. They'd have to be candid, and maybe 10 years from now they'll, say in a book that may have been the case. But we don't know right now.
What we'll do is we'll give him a bottle of whiskey. We'll go shot for shot.
Truth serum is what we'll give him.
It's called bourbon.
Truth serum. We'll give him that. But, like, Andy Heck can be criticized. He can absolutely have some criticism. If Patrick Mahomes is able to be criticized, if Andy Reid is able to be criticized, God forbid the offensive line coach be immune?
Heck that.
Hold on. People can say Patrick Mahomes isn't playing to his level, isn't playing good enough football. Andy Reid's play calls at times are just head-scratching. What do you do? Why don't you run the ball more? Why are you running the inside pitch play down inside the goal line? People are ready for that. Why'd you run the 3rd down and 2 deep pass like that, even though last year against the Ravens in the AFC Championship game, they ran a route like that and it was completed and it was genius. Chris Jones isn't getting sacks. He needs to be better and bring the quarterback down. Those guys, the ones that we have clear evidence of how good they are, clear evidence, those guys would be criticized. Andy Heck. Well, now you've taken it a step too far. And criticizing somebody is not. The last coach I called to be fired for the Chiefs was Bob Sutton. I don't know that I was out of line in that.
It's a bold take you had there.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, 913-912-4810 is the text line. 913-912-4810 is the text line. And there might be plenty of guys out there like, oh, Andy Heck's the best offensive line coach in the league. Cool. Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league.
Sure.
There's a lot of people criticizing him and his play this year.
You and I think, we differ slightly, but we agree that he's not above reproach. I guess for me, I think that he has done enough that I still am giving him a larger pass and maybe than you, because I just he's been there 12 years.
I credit him with Allegretti and
Andrew Wiley and Creed. Yeah. No, and agree, but I always will come down to it's why I didn't get too much on Connor Embry last year. I think most of the times it's the players. I think you can make like maybe a great, again, I don't think Connor Embry is the Bill Belichick of wide receiver coaches, and I don't think that he was the Brandon Staley of wide receiver coaches. Like, I don't think Andy Heck is. It's the same vein. It's if you're not the best or the worst, I don't know how much of a difference you're really making outside of the players themselves. Brett Veach has been incredible, and I criticize the Jawan Taylor trade. I'm criticizing it still.
Free agent signing.
Free agent signing. Yeah. I did not criticize Kingsley, but I also said I would have liked to see Wanye start this year because of rookie left tackles. We saw Kingsley, but yet we saw Wanye. So at some point, Brett Veach is bringing in Humphreys, and we'll see. But I guess for me, I blamed more Veach for the tackle issues than I do Andy Heck for the tackle issues.
I'm just discussing the holistic issue that's going on at the tackle or at the offensive line position.
Yeah.
So we're willing to do some different things here and talk about different people, but his name is not really brought up, and Tommy Moe brought it up, and I'm just in agreement in that. Why can't he be criticized?
Tommy Moe, what have you done? Tommy Moe has sparked a 2-hour debate on who to blame for the tackle.
It's not even a 2-hour debate. I think it's going on 7 minutes now.
I'm blaming the players.
Yeah. There is breaking news out there. This is a shock. But Pete Thamel is reporting that Luther Burden will enter the NFL draft. He says, quote, "We're just getting started." So Luther Burden is entering the NFL draft.
Serious question here.
I thought that would be – I told my son, I'm like, well, this will be Luther Burden's last game as a Missouri Tiger.
100%. Serious question here.
And thank God they didn't throw him the ball.
Yeah.
They did not get him the ball.
Frustrating.
The most talented – he's the Heisman winner of decoys this year.
Seriously.
Anyway, serious question.
His draft stock going into this year was probably going to be a top 5 or top 10 draft pick. I don't know if it's a top 5 or top 10 draft pick, but right now, I think he could be, but I wouldn't be surprised if he went 18th, right? How much of that, not the lack of on-field production, because I think some NFL teams can overlook that. How much of it is the semi-hothead? It's the silly... It's not George Pickens, but a little bit of George Pickens to an extent, right? Like, Luther Burden has no off-the-field issues. Yeah. There's no...
By all indications, like, he's a good dude.
Yeah, 100%.
Off the field. But there are some head-scratching sort of...
penalties on the field where you go...
And body language at
times.
And
body language. We go, Luther, man, what's going... And I don't know if that... almost Odell Beckham Jr., if that's maybe the comparison to make here, where it's like off the field, there's nothing there. Obviously, there's no issues that we've ever heard of. None of that stuff. For all indications, great guy.
Yeah.
But some of the body language, the penalties, the I don't know if it's pouting, but it looked like he was pouting against Texas A&M. Like how much of that will drop his draft stock, or does it play any factor at all?
I don't think it will, because if you're a team and you're looking for, you could look at it and go, "Hey, Luther, we're going to get you the ball." Like now, if it's an issue of every time he is not getting the ball to the standard that he believes he should be getting, that it's going to be an issue, well, we'll see if that's the case. But right now, I could chalk it up as, Luther Burden is getting frustrated because why is he used as a decoy?
Correct.
Like, why is he put in the backfield and then you fake the toss to him to run with Brady Cook? Well, that's a hell of a decoy. It's working. Great. Awesome. You know what could work too? Putting the ball in his hands, because he simply makes plays. Yes, he dropped the pass that was there early in the game against Arkansas on that third down. That would have been either a first down or darn near close to it, to where you probably would have gone for it on fourth down, and they get off the field and punt. He also caught one later on third down. That was a big conversion. But, you've got to find ways to get one of the best playmakers in America the football.
Sure.
Like, you can't just simply have him on the field and go, "Hey, defense, see that number 3 over there? We're gonna give him the ball." I gotcha. You thought we were gonna give him the ball. We went somewhere else. It was incomplete. Hey, 2nd down and 10. See that number 3 there? We're gonna give him the ball. We didn't give him the ball that time, but you thought we were. You thought we were gonna give him the ball. We did not.
It reminded me a little bit of DK Metcalf, where it's. I need to look that back up. I don't think DK had any off the field issues. I don't believe so. But I think some of it was a little bit of the case of, and you saw with Seattle, I always go back to Russell Wilson. One time DK was complaining about not getting the ball, so Russell Wilson looked like he tried to force feed him the ball, and it ended up being a pick 6. And so I wonder, I don't think DK has that as much anymore. And you kind of want that sometimes with an alpha receiver. You want to be like, I want the ball, give me the rock, I'm going to make a play. But DK has grown on that. George Pickens has not. I'm not saying Luther's one of those two guys, but just from what I saw in college, again, being a Mizzou alum and watching all the games, you see a little bit of that frustration bubble over, and I wonder if that affects NFL teams in regards to. All I'm saying is, can he go to the Chiefs at 32? That's basically the moral of the story.
Right, that's what I said last year. Roma Dunze, I would not have drafted him in the top 31. I thought that was a terrible pick by anybody to draft him in the top 31, and I think if you take Luther Burden in the top 31, you are taking a huge risk. I mean, GM might get fired if you take Luther Burden in the top 31. I wouldn't do it.
I'm talking myself into
32. I think 32 is the right spot. The right spot. Let me tell you, I would gladly deal with the wide receiver diva, and I want the ball, and I'm frustrated of Jamar Chase. Then. Boy, Sky Moore just loves being around football.
We know the example, and we don't need to use it again of Sky Moore specifically and what we could deal with.
And you know what? The Steelers are still dealing with George Pickens and some of the things.
That's why we don't want to bring it up, because it's kind of a bad argument either side.
But you've got a talented player that's making plays on the field, but still is a knucklehead.
Right.
And
to where Broderick Jones, a lesser tenured guy from the same school,
twice
had to go up to him and basically tell him to stop.
What are you doing, man? Just stop. Just play ball. Just play ball. All right, we'll take a timeout, come back, continue rolling. We'll hear from Andy Reid coming up in just a little bit, probably in the 1 o'clock hour. No Mick. I almost said Mick Yates. No Mick Schaefer today. We had Field Yates, but there is no Mick Yates on the show today. I promise you that. There is nobody named Mick Yates on the show. But Mick Schaefer, no Mick Schaefer today. But we get Learn Funniest Best coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. More Zone right after this. 1 o'clock hour, learn funniest best. I do want to get into one of the things that I was talking about after Field Yates when we were going to break, just the assumption outside of Kansas City of people thinking they know what's going on in Kansas City and Chiefs Kingdom and the way that the view of this Chiefs team is. I think there was one tweet yesterday that said there was just like some person like dying laughing was the GIF. And it was Chiefs fans thinking on a week-to-week basis they're as good as the Lions, Eagles, and Bills. Then dying laughing. I'm like, you're such an idiot, man. Like, I'm not even going to respond to that dude. Because even if you say that's not true, he'll just go, yeah, it is, because I'm an idiot. And you have no idea what the conversation is here. tackles heading up until 2 o'clock. We're going to learn funniest best coming up later on this hour. You know, we'll do an update to the Chiefs ZOUs on Wednesday when Mick Schaefer is in. We're going to have time to do it today anyway, if Mick was in, but he is out today. We'll hear from Andy Reid coming up in just a little bit as he's going through his Monday press conference and getting ready for the challenge of taking on the Los Angeles Chargers. I had mentioned that ridiculous tweet about Chiefs fans and laughing, like the laughing gif of Chiefs fans thinking that they're on the same level week to week as the Lions, Eagles, and Bills, and there's no Chiefs fan that feels that way. Like, I think pretty much, well, maybe there is. I shouldn't speak for all. I'd say the large majority of Chiefs fans acknowledge that there are some issues with this team, that they are not blowing teams out like we've seen, and just controlling and dominating some games like we've seen other teams do. Certainly the Buffalo Bills have done that a couple times. The Eagles have done that a couple times. Lions certainly have done that a few times. While also having the nuance, which is missed outside of Kansas City because they haven't been living here the last 5, 6, 7 years, of, but come playoff time, who knows what this team's going to look like because it's going to be different.
Yeah.
And that's the difference between here in Kansas City and in Buffalo. My guess in Buffalo would be, dude, we are playing great football right now. But it's all going to come down to the playoffs. And what happens Josh Allen should be MVP. What happens in the playoffs, though?
Yeah.
Because it's the hardware, the rings. They had a great chance to beat the Chiefs. The Chiefs, on Christmas Day, were toast, done, no chance. Ravens, awesome. Bills, awesome. Dolphins, scoring. Chiefs, suck. They can't score. They can't stop teams. It's done. It's all coming crashing down. Ha, ha, ha. Look at the Chiefs. Take that, Chiefs fans, you spoiled brats. And then they went and won a Super Bowl. And they went to Buffalo and won. They went to Baltimore and won. Like, that was a huge opportunity for the Bills to beat the Chiefs. They had all the advantages, except for they were incredibly injured in that game. I think we can acknowledge that.
Sure.
The defense for the Bills was ravaged with injury. It happens in a season. Those things take place. Yeah. The Chiefs, last year, for the most part, had some injury luck. They were pretty healthy throughout most of the year. A couple of guys here or there, but for the most part, they had some injury luck work in their favor. They haven't had that this year, and yet they're 11-1. But I would guess the feeling in Buffalo is, we've been awesome, but it matters in the playoffs. What do we do then? The feeling in Baltimore, what do we do in the playoffs? It's about the playoffs. With the Chiefs, it's also about the playoffs, but it's not getting overly down and dramatic over some of the issues and winning close games, because we've been here before. Yes. We've seen it, done it, and we've seen this team do what they do in the playoffs. All of these teams, really, or just these two that we're talking about specifically, Chiefs and Bills, they have both been in this position before. The Bills dominating in the regular season and then getting to the playoffs and not getting it done for one reason or another. And the Chiefs sometimes going through the motions and then getting into the playoffs and getting it done for one reason or another and winning a Super Bowl. So I think both franchises can sit back and go, this one's dominating, but really what happens in the playoffs? This one's struggling and barely winning, but what happens in the playoffs?
It's just calmer than you, dude. Calmer than you.
Yeah, but, there's a little bit of that, but just the thought that anybody in Kansas City is like, no, the Chiefs are just as good as any other team out there and playing just as well as any other team right now. I don't think there's any Chiefs fan that would say the way the Chiefs are playing right now is on the level of how the Bills are playing and how the Lions are playing. But what I would also say is, on the field with the Bills or the Lions in a one-game setting, the Chiefs can absolutely win as much as anybody can. They went to Buffalo, and it was a 2-point game. They couldn't get the stop there at the end.
Yeah.
It was a 2-point game. They had opportunities throughout the game. We went through all of the different plays. That if this or that, it's capital I, capital F. Those things happen in a one-game setting.
It's
the Bills
playoffs,
will tell you last
man.
year.
That's all that matters. And I understand other teams' frustrations because Chiefs fans think back when the Chiefs weren't good, and Patriots fans would say, we don't care that you beat us.
Cool.
Wait till the postseason. And we're sitting there going, oh, haha, of course.
Yeah,
of course you'd say that.
This is the year, though. The dynasty is over this year
is
for the
different.
Patriots. This is different this year. This feels different this year. And then it wasn't.
And so that's what I think is so hard. The Chiefs are now in that Patriots. They're in that room now. That is where they're at, where regular season, you get to the playoffs, you try and get the 1 seed, but if you don't, like we saw last year, you can still win a Super Bowl going on the road. But other fan bases, they've not witnessed or gone through this before, so it's very easy for them to say, well, okay, that was last year. What about living the now, man? And then the same result happens. It's, again, Chiefs fans, we realize that because we've gone through the Patriots and now we're living the gloriousness that is the Kansas City Chiefs football and the success in the postseason. Other fan bases have not, and they don't get that. I will say, shout out to a lot of Bills fans. The majority, almost all that I've talked to after they beat Kansas City, they all said, that's great game, tip your cap, KC, but we know it doesn't matter until playoff time. They weren't showboating because they've gone through it now a couple times.
Even Josh Allen said the same thing.
And so,
we won, but it matters in what happens in the playoffs. Yeah, these are great numbers, but it's about the playoffs. It's about getting the win there. We're putting ourselves in a position to succeed in the playoffs, but we're trying to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
not a regular season game.
And so I just think that's where it comes from a lot of different fan bases. Is the they've not had the success before. They've never witnessed their team potentially struggling in the regular season and still finding ways to win Super Bowls. That's why I'm not that nervous. Maybe I'm not worried about Kansas City. I trust they'll get it figured out because they have before. Maybe that makes me too nonchalant, too laissez-faire, Dylan. That's a callback to like 2 weeks ago, the laissez-faire conversation.
It's a good callback.
But yeah, I believe the Chiefs will get it figured out. I think whether it's DJ Humphries, whether it is Wanye, or whether it's Joe Tooney at left tackle, they will find a way to figure it out. And by the way, Joshua Williams gave me a little confidence that maybe, just maybe, they can have some success at CB2.
They got 5 games left this year. They had 2 games left last year when they hit rock bottom.
Yes.
After the Raiders game. They had little runway left, and they still landed the plane. So I have confidence with 5 games left, they'll figure out a way to land the plane and get into the playoffs and give themselves as good of a chance as any year in any game to win.
Yes.
Does it mean they're going to win the Super Bowl? No. Doesn't mean that they're automatically going to win the Super Bowl.
Well, they have this Esky magic going. They might.
Right.
If they have this Esky devil magic, they're good.
But I believe no matter who they play, they have a chance to win that game and a pretty damn good chance to win that game, and they find ways to do that in these moments. And I think in the fourth quarter, I think that mental edge is 100% on the sideline for the Chiefs. That the other team is going, how do we find a way to win this game? And it's a back and forth game where the Chiefs are saying, we will find a way to win this game. Like, we will make a play here. This is going to happen. We're going to win. Because the evidence has been there that that's what they do, and the other team does not. Andy Reid with his Monday press conference. Here is Andy's opening statement getting ready for the Chargers.
Hey, Coach. Can you hear me okay?
I can.
Perfect. Take it away.
All right. I don't have any injuries necessarily for you. I meet with the doctors here later. But I think we came out fairly healthy of this game. And so I don't think there's going to be a whole lot to talk about even so. And, you know, with that, I'm going to leave it up to you guys. Go ahead and fire away.
Andy, you said after the game the Raiders were bringing an extra guy to stop the run, but I just wondered after watching, what was your overall evaluation of your guys' run game against the Raiders?
Yeah, we can do better in that area. And so I've got to make sure that I give the guys the right things to run against that defense. And then, the guys have to do their job on top of that. So it's kind of a package deal there. And but I didn't feel like I was necessarily putting them in the best position against that.
Great. And since the last time we talked, I think you made your movie debut. I just wondered what part of that experience you're going to remember most.
Yeah, I didn't have a real big part in it, thank goodness. Or the movie probably wouldn't have been as good as it was, so that's a good thing. So But I enjoyed the people with Hallmark. They sure do a nice job with things, and it's a local group here, so it's they're Kansas City grown, and I appreciate their support. I think we have a unique relationship between the two organizations, which is something. I mean, Hallmark is one of those we all grew up with. If you needed a Christmas card, you knew where to go. And you get a Hallmark, and you knew you're in good hands there. So, but anyways, that it was fun. It was fun for what I did there. I mean, they made it painless.
It's a movie star, not only with the commercials, now with the Hallmark movies for Andy Reid. First of many, I would say. Playing himself in this one. Andy Reid as Andy Reid.
It'd be even better if he was playing someone else. And you see Andy Reid.
Andy Reid as Craig Stadler. Andy Reid continued. Adam Teicher said, what will DJ Humphries' practice week look like?
Yeah, and we'll work him in and see what he can, see how he feels. You know, that's the main thing. He hadn't played in a while, so I just want to make sure he's in good position. He did a nice job last week working in there, and we'll do a little bit more with him this week.
Okay. And obviously, this season hasn't gone like you thought it would or like you hoped at left tackle. So why not? What's gone wrong there?
Yeah, listen, we've got young guys that we're working in there, and so you know, the growth, they're going against good players, and the good ones have gotten probably the better of us, but it's things that these guys will learn from, and they can bank for the future and get themselves better, and I think that'll help us down the road. You know, so I mean that's what I would tell you.
They'll work him in, see how he feels. Did a nice job last week, but we'll do a little more this week with DJ Humphries. And young guys at left tackle. So it's an issue. You got young guys in there. They'll learn from this, continue getting better. Pete Sweeney continued and asked how Joshua Williams did jumping into the game against the Raiders.
Yeah, listen, I'm glad we have both of them. I think both of them can still work in there and do some things. And we haven't given up on Nazi or anything of that sort. I mean, he's coming off pretty major knee surgery, and so we've kind of kept an eye on him with that. And I think as you know, as we go forward, we can use both of them, I'm sure.
And then just in a follow up to Adam, do you think it's a possibility for DJ to start this week, or is it just strictly you guys are going to see how the week goes?
Yeah, listen, last week was a short week, so we didn't have a whole lot of time to, you know, for the fast part of the game practices, and so this week he'll have I'll have a better idea as we go, and he'll have a better idea. So how he feels, and then we just go from there. You know, we'll just see how it all works out.
We'll go next to Sam McDowell. Sam?
Hey, Pete just really asked my question, but just wanted to clarify, you haven't made a determination yet, Andy, about who will start at left tackle this week?
No, listen, I don't think that's probably fair to DJ. You know, right now, just him coming off this offseason. So I think we just play it by ear, Sam, as we go. And if he feels okay, then we give him an opportunity. If it's not where it needs to be, then you don't. So it's, you know, we'll see how it goes.
Certainly sounds like there's a chance. Sounds like there's a chance that he could be starting against the Chargers.
Definitely sounds like he wants to go with DJ Humphries, by the way. When the first thing he says, who's starting at left tackle, any indication, he goes, well, that's not fair to DJ.
That's right.
Not fair to Wanye, not unfair to Kingsley.
Because Sam McDowell didn't say, is DJ starting this? Said, just a clarification, you haven't named a starter yet this Sunday. Well, that wouldn't be fair to DJ to name him the starter right now.
So that's where I'm taking that.
Great call, man. Great call, Sterling. Yeah, so that's not fair to DJ for me to call him the starter right now. We'll play it by ear. We'll see how this week goes. If he feels good, then we'll give him a chance to be out there. But last week was a short week, not a whole lot of time. they'll have a better idea, and he said he'll have a better idea about how he feels. Now, the one thing that I've thrown out there in the difference between, say, DJ Humphries and, Isaiah Pacheco and Charles Omenihu and those guys coming back, and especially Omenihu, who's, missed less time than DJ Humphries because he tore his ACL in late January, and DJ Humphries tore his ACL on December 31st, so DJ Humphries has had a little bit more time of recovery and not playing yet. Omenihu played 50% of the snaps in the game, played 34 snaps. Pretty good, 50%, yeah.
Solid.
DJ Humphries ain't playing 50% of the snaps at left tackle. When he starts, he plays 100%. You're not subbing him in and out.
Yeah, that's a great call.
He's not a rotational player. So when he's your left tackle, 70 plays. Is he ready to go for 70 plays? Or do you go with Kingsley or Wanya, and as long as they're okay, you're okay? And then later as the game goes, if they start struggling, all right, let's get 40 plays out of DJ Humphries here. And that's how we can slowly work him in, is get him in and start the second half with DJ Humphries, and now he's our starter moving forward. Maybe that's the case. I have no idea, but it's a little different than, this guy's coming back as a wide receiver. Okay, he'll play 50% of the snaps as a wide receiver. This guy's coming back as a defensive lineman. Okay, he can play 50% of the snaps as a defensive lineman. This guy's coming back as an offensive lineman. It's go time. You're playing. Andy Reid continued with the press conference, and Matt Derrick asked, would Joe Thuney be your starter at left tackle if DJ Humphries can't go?
Well, that's another one of the options that we've got. So we finished the game that way, and I'd rather have Joe playing in at guard because he's very good there. But Caliendo isn't bad either. So it's that's a good problem to have. But we've got some flexibility there as needed.
Hey, Coach, with a young player like Wanya who struggled during the game, when you went back and graded everything out, was some of the struggles that he physically couldn't do something, or was it the mental part got to him? Could you kind of divide that up on a certain scale, and which one of those things is easier to fix, I guess?
Yeah, sometimes things snowball on you, Todd. I mean, it's a little bit of everything gets you. He started off pretty good, and then it kind of went from there, and that happens with young guys. Nobody wants that to happen that way, but sometimes it happens, and then you kind of get frozen in your own feet there, and on what to do exactly. So, but listen, it's a great learning experience for him. I would expect him to do that, whatever direction this thing goes. I would expect him to do that, and he's a good kid and he works hard. So, I tell you the same thing with Kingsley. Both of them have got some valuable experience this year, and we'll continue to hope that they would learn from all that.
Yeah, I mean, look, another option for them, Joe Thuney at left tackle. Said rather have him at guard, but Caliendo's not bad at guard, so if they have to go with Joe Thuney at left tackle, then they can go with Joe Thuney at left tackle.
Yeah, and he mentioned the snowball effect, which I think is a really good call. I mean, it happened in that game. I think the Panthers game is the best example. That was the whole offensive line.
I think the Bengals game for Kingsley.
Yeah, for sure for Kingsley. But in regards to the entire offensive line and the snowball effect, yeah. I was laughing because the first half against the Panthers, I thought that was the best the offensive line has looked all season for Kansas City. I was sitting here going, well, Holmes has time. He has dropping back, which receivers are able to get open. That first half against Carolina, I was sitting here going, wow, this offensive line looks great today. And then the second half was, we're going to give up 5 sacks. And I think it kind of snowballs, though. And you saw it against the Raiders. They lost confidence. I think Juwan did. I think Wanya did clearly.
And Mahomes does, too.
And yes, and it's a fully full fast in regards to taking some blame here. But I think the snowball effect is a greater explanation for sometimes tackles' poor play than anything else. Because once one thing goes wrong, you're in your dome. Mm-hmm. Once you're in your dome, you lose.
They got a dome. Andy Reid was asked if Xavier Worthy seems like he's on the edge of really taking it to the next level.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's getting better. I think that's what we all can see. And it's not a secret. He's putting that out there for everybody to see. And so I would, my main
concern is that he just keeps doing that. That's what you want to do, and keep working to better yourself, and let's just see where it all ends up at the end. But he's doing a nice job. He's got the trust of the quarterback. He's got the trust of the coaches. He's playing fast. Looks like he's gotten his legs back from training camp in the early part of the season. So all of that's positive stuff. But you got to keep putting the product out there.
Given the highlight that we saw on Friday, was that a signification with Kelsey's lateral that he's earned the right for that play to actually be designed in the playbook? Has he earned that part of the his signature flip?
He's been doing it for a few years, so it's we do it in practice every day. You guys see that, so you know that this isn't just something that we throw out there on game day. I mean, it's it's something we do, and so everything's okay with that. It's just as long as you complete them.
And then secondly, it seems, Andy, that you guys are playing Jaden Hicks a little more over these last few weeks. Just what's the reasoning behind that, and how much do you think he might sort of progress between now and obviously you guys clinching a playoff spot?
Yeah, sure. No, he's a good player, and so him working in there, I think, is a positive. Again, he's a young guy that needs to keep progressing and challenging himself that way. I know the coaches have trust in him, and so we'll just see how things go moving forward. But he's earned that right to play more, and so he's got the confidence of Spags that way.
They've been playing a lot of guys. There's been a number of plays where they've got a good portion of safeties on the field. Reed, Connor, Cook, Hicks, with Connor playing in the slot.
Yeah.
Because they're only playing like two traditional cornerbacks right now. It's McDuffie and Nazi / Joshua Williams. But not McDuffie, Nazi, Roland Wallace / Keith Taylor. I mean, Keith Taylor played 3 snaps in the game. Nazi Johnson played 13 and then got pulled. Joshua Williams played 53, the rest of the snaps after he got pulled. And so you've got Jaden Hicks that's playing more and more and played 24 snaps, and Justin Reed played 100%, and Brian Cook played 90%, and Shamari Connor played 75%. And again, Jaden Hicks playing 30-35% of those snaps. So they've got a lot of safeties that are out there, because it certainly seems like Spagnuolo was trusting those guys more than who the third cornerback would be.
Yeah.
Take my chances with Connor, Reed, Cook, and Hicks rather than either a Roland Wallace or a Keith Taylor at that time. We'll see if that continues, or if he gets faith of, if you're willing to go with Nazi and Joshua Williams, then are you willing to go with Nazi and Joshua Williams in certain spots? And would it make sense to move McDuffie back to the slot if he's been an all-pro guy at the slot last year and been struggling the last 4 or 5 weeks in coverage? Does it make the team better to play Joshua Williams and Nazi Johnson on the outside and Trip McDuffie just be your slot guy, and you're not leaving Shamari Connor to be the slot corner and getting beat a number of times? Like, these are things, you got 5 weeks to figure these things out before you get in the playoffs.
I think it would depend on the team for me personally. If it's the Lions with the way they use Amon-Ra St. Brown in the slot, then I would say, honestly, I probably would do that.
Have McDuffie travel.
If it's the Bengals, I think you would, but doesn't have to worry about that. I don't know if you would with the Ravens.
No, I mean, Zay
Bills,
Flowers, if you just want to follow.
If you want to follow Zay, I think Zay is a good matchup for Trent.
Well, you might want to follow Deontay Johnson to the sideline. If you traveled with Deontay Johnson, you'd be traveling with him watching the game from the sideline.
I like Dylan's chance to go up against Deontay Johnson. Dylan, I think you could lock him up. I really do.
The water cooler is doing a great job of covering Deontay Johnson right now. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Learn Funniest Best coming up next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you. Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels, heading up until 2 o'clock. Chiefs get ready for the Chargers. Chargers coming up on Sunday at home, and a chance to win the division. To go 12-1 and be the division champions of the West. Yet again, we did the math earlier, and it was we came up with 25 straight years of winning the West. That's what it feels like.
And it still seems low.
Right? I mean, I feel like that we need to check the math again. Typically, we're really good at math around here. We need to check the math.
Noted math show.
That's absolutely. It is time for Learn Funniest Best. It is presented by Citywide Remodelers. If you're ready to turn your house into your dream home, upgrade your bedroom, kitchen, and bathrooms with top-notch craftsmanship, visit Citywide Remodelers. It's citywideremodelers.com. All right, what I learned from the weekend. We go around the room. What we learned, funniest from the weekend, best from the weekend. A lot that you learned over a 4-day break. For you, Sterling, being gone for a couple of weeks. So
I was Saturday to Saturday. Come on.
What I learned was a lot of the checks at the line of scrimmage and the calls for the Detroit Lions and what they use for their audibles. I learned that thanks to Jahmyr Gibbs, who did a video dancing in front of the whiteboard. Did you see this, Sterling? Did you see it, though? Did you see it?
Not the whole thing, no.
Okay, so behind him is this whiteboard with all of these different checks and drop back protections and what each person's responsible for. Like play number 12, 2-5-8-3-3-4 stutter, right tackle, left tackle, parentheses, Julia Roberts. 13, 7-6-9-3-3-8, keep, right tackle, left tackle, parentheses, Caitlyn Jenner. 8-6-9-3-3-8, NKD, right tackle, left tackle, Khloe Kardashian. Roll, PS, right tackle, left tackle, Winfrey Ellen. 4-3-5-4-3-4 base, Purdue, Michigan Wolverine. 6-3-0-6-3-1 kick, karate belt.
Kick, great.
Play 18, spider, right tackle, left tackle, red, blue, spider. 19, sprint, right tackle, left tackle, red, blue, gold. Sprint, right tackle, left tackle, solid, red, blue, silver. And then the other side of the whiteboard, a bunch of other drop back protections. Torch flame, fire lava, Cooks Miller, something Stella, all behind him. That's what I learned. I learned some of the...
Good job, Jahmyr. Especially when you already pissed off Dan Campbell once and got benched, and it was benched in the second half. Yeah, that's great.
Dan Campbell at the press conference, when he was asked about it, was like, who is this? What was it? I didn't, it was Jahmyr Gibbs? Yeah, well, we certainly don't want our stuff out there, and then walked off the podium. This morning he was on in Detroit and said, if we lose the game because of some calls that are out there on the whiteboard, then we're not good enough to win the game, sort of dismissing it. But I learned all of those different calls.
I'm sure that helps Jahmyr Gibbs benching
for the
right?
Lions.
That helps, I think.
Yeah.
When you're benched, you should go and give away play calls for some inexplicable reason.
It's like the Julia Roberts, karate belt, Winfrey, Ellen.
Yeah.
Khloe Kardashian. What'd you learn this weekend?
I learned, you guys know the Genius Apple commercial?
Yeah.
Hate the commercial.
I'm not a fan of it either.
I think they're very dumb. Also, I'd be very irritated if you're like, hey, you forgot my birthday, but my phone did a video for you.
Yep,
and
I
I'm
did this video for
But
you.
also, it's not even on your phone. It's on your phone, not even their phone. You haven't sent it to them.
Also, I work so hard on this that while you're looking at it with the kids, I'm walking away. Just so I can look into the camera and break the third wall. Oh, look, haha, I'm so smart. I'm not even going. I didn't care about you enough to get you a present.
Correct.
2, I used AI just to simply put it together for you. 3, I didn't even stay and watch it with you and the kids.
It'd
to
be
see
even
what
better
the hell it was.
if it wasn't even the correct thing and it was just some random pictures, some guy named like Mike on vacation.
It's like in Friends when my funny Valentine.
Some guy named Domingo on there. So
yeah, I'm not a fan of that either.
So, and then also the business one, you're too lazy to read the thing. You have to just read it off that. If I were the client, I would have canned you on the spot.
But you didn't know because he rolled out into the hallway to hide what he was doing.
Yeah, it's lame.
Yeah.
But good for Kansas City because that song that goes, Genius.
Yeah.
That's Chris Calico. of Strange Music and obviously with Tech Nine for a long time. So shout out to Big Chris Calico.
Nice.
Love Chris Calico. That was his song off of the 2009 album he put out. Great album. Backpack's a slapper of a song.
Nice. I agree. I believe you.
So shout out Chris Calico for having that at least. As bad as the commercial is, the only saving grace is like the second I heard it, I go, that's Chris Calico.
That's good for you.
That's Chris Calico. And it was. So good for him.
Mick, what'd you learn besides learn that you weren't going to be here today? Dylan, what'd you learn?
So I learned that the Bears and Shabuzi had a time of possession battle for the first half. The Bears' time of possession barely won with 7:06. Shabuzi was on the field for 6:26. So almost one of the funnier tweets, but I still think it's hilarious that Shabuzi
What song
was
did he
close.
sing?
I don't know. I didn't watch.
Not really. Not sure.
No.
No, seriously, it's the one that everyone knows. The Tipsy song.
Oh, yeah,
Sure.
that one.
That's what I was
Take
making
your word for it.
Making the
Funniest, we start with you, Sterling. What was the funniest from the weekend?
Okay, so you guys know on Thanksgiving Day how everything's closed, right?
For the most part.
For the most part, everything's closed on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Well, we had a whole bunch of people down at my parents' house, or we have a place in Florida. We go to Florida. We have a whole bunch of people over. A lot of my mom's family flies in. We all hang out. It's a great time. Well, we got some
they don't close Florida. I know that.
We got some stuff the night before, but we still needed some stuff the day of. We thought we'll go to Publix. Publix is right by my parents' house down there. We'll stop at Publix and get what we need to finish the meal. Right? Makes sense. It's closed. Everything's closed around this area. Everything is closed Thanksgiving morning.
Good.
The only thing that was open though was a Circle K. So my mom, some of her sisters, my wife. I was on the golf course golfing with my dad when I heard this story originally. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, what's going on? She goes, I'll tell you later. My wife said that. They're at a Circle K getting a charcuterie board there of some nice cheeses, some cheddar sticks, some fruit was actually some good fruit.
Some Slim Jims.
So that was the appetizers was from charcuterie board from a Circle K. And we don't normally have a ton of people down. We had more than normal, and we needed more coffee cups. And they're going to buy some coffee cups at Publix, just like, you can get some, even just some normal glass ones or ceramic ones. Well, they ended up getting some Circle K plastic cups. So that was our after dinner cappuccinos that we made were in a Circle K cup. So shout out to Circle K. I thought that was hilarious. Was our Circle K charcuterie board. Very classy.
I always enjoyed the guy that was on TikTok or Instagram, whatever, that did the videos of like the Costco worker or whatever, when he was like, and it was about holidays. People walking. I just don't understand why they have you work today. Because of you. You're the reason we're working today, because you're in here shopping on Thanksgiving. You are the reason. But thank you for saying, I don't know why they're having you open today. You're the reason. Dylan, funniest?
So the funniest for me was Gus Johnson's call of the Jack Sawyer interception from the game, Michigan, Ohio State, and here it is.
Warren looking, and it's intercepted at the goal line. Unbelievable. Wow, Jack Sawyer, the hero, Captain Jack.
The voice crack, he
was trying
to get
through
the whole thing before he had to take a breath, and
he was trying to be Gus. Gus didn't have the voice there, not like the Gonzaga UCLA. Last chance to dance! Upset City! Oh!
It sounds a lot like, I want to kiss you!
We've seen the Gusgasms before, man. There was an entire soundboard that they had that internet website of the Gus Johnson sayings. There you go. My funniest from the weekend is, boy, Sterling would love this one. I don't know if you heard this from Xavier Legette in the locker room on Thursday on Thanksgiving. So the Panthers having their practice and everything on Thanksgiving, and then, after practice, media availability, then they go home and enjoy their Thanksgiving with family. So here's Xavier Legette with the Carolina Panthers with one of the greatest accents in all of sports. I would have loved for him to be a Kansas City Chief based on just getting a chance to talk to him. By all indications, everybody talks about how funny and how great of a dude he is to be around, but the accent makes it even better. Here's Xavier Legette when asked about Thanksgiving meal.
Hey man, when I'm mostly excited to eat today, man, it's gonna be that coon. Man, my cousin they called me last night and told me they killed the coon 2 days ago. They took the clothes off and everything, washed them up. Yeah, we about to dive into that today, man.
Come on, man. Shout out to you, man. Happy Thanksgiving, brother.
Happy Thanksgiving, dog.
What I'm most looking forward to is that coon. My cousins called me 2 days ago. They caught it. They took the clothes off it and everything, washed it up, and we're about to dive in it. They took its clothes off. The raccoon, they took the clothes off the raccoon, meaning you just skinned it and cooked it. They took its clothes off, washed it up, and we're ready to dive into that thing. God, I love Xavier Legette.
Huge fan of Xavier Legette. I had a chance to interview him after he was drafted. If you want to listen to it, it's on Around the NFL with Sterling Holmes. You can check that out. That was a while back, but it's also Twitter account and Around the NFL. It's there with Sports Radio 810. A lot of fun. But his accent is incredible. It's like, just think of like a country singer. Think of like Luke Combs or like
Teeter off of Yellowstone.
It's so thick of a country accent. It's incredible. I remember I asked about, I don't even know what we were talking about. I was like, what do you do in your free time? Like, what's some... He's like, I love horses. I love my horses. And I was just like, this guy's awesome.
His touchdown celebration is like doing the
riding the horse.
Yeah. Let's play it again. I want to hear it one more time. Xavier Legette on Thursday and talking about eating a raccoon for Thanksgiving dinner. They took its clothes off. Here you go.
Hey, man, what I'm most excited to eat today, man, it's gonna be that coon. Man, my cousin, they called me last night and told me they killed the coon 2 days ago. They took the clothes off and everything, washed them up. Yeah, we about to dive into that today, man.
Come on, man. Shout out to you, man. Happy Thanksgiving, brother.
Happy Thanksgiving, dog.
Is raccoon good?
I love how the interviewer's trying to act like, oh, that does sound good.
Man.
No, don't lie and act like that sounds good.
I've never had raccoon before. I have no idea if it's good or not.
That's true.
I would hope that they take the clothes off it and wash it up and everything like they did at the Legette household.
It just tastes like chicken.
Maybe
everyone always says everything tastes like chicken.
Not sure. All right, we move on to the best. Dylan, best for you?
Best for me was the Chiefs getting a win on Black Friday.
Nice.
There
okay.
you go.
There you
I
go.
totally didn't think of that right now.
Oh, all good. All good. Way to mail it in. I've got a couple of
That's
bests.
a mixed job.
I've got a couple of bests. One of my, I'll do this one first, and if you don't use one of the best, I'll come back and grab it. One of my best was this. Team A, 20 first downs. Team B, 5. Team A, 334 yards. Team B, 164. Team A, 144 rushing yards. Team B, 49. Team A, 8 of 17 on third down. Team B, 0 of 10. Team A, 40 minutes of possession. Team B, 20. Do you know who scored? Or you know what the final score was and who won? And you know who Team B is? The most Team B ever of a win that you could ever have in college football. To have 15 fewer first downs, 200 fewer yards, 0 of 10 on third down, and 20 less minutes.
Oh, was it Michigan versus Ohio State?
It was Nebraska-Iowa. Iowa won 13-10 over Nebraska with all of those numbers.
Wow.
That was one of my best from the weekend. I've got another one. But anyway,
Incredible.
your best from the weekend, Sterling?
Found out my grandpa feeds ducks.
Nice.
And we all thought it was like 4 to 5 ducks. It's apparently at least 40 ducks in Florida. It's at least 40 ducks, apparently. And they act like minions. Like if you watch like Despicable Me, apparently all the ducks, whenever my grandpa comes outside, he'll get the food. And they'll just like flock towards him.
Awesome.
And so he's now like the duck king of Florida. But not only that, my grandma hates birds. So it makes it even better. So he could be like, hey, grandma, come out here.
Love that he's still tormenting his wife as a 70, 80-year-old.
90. 89. They're both 89.
How do you? What's the secret to your marriage? I torment her with.
I'm the bird king of Florida.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. A couple quick ones. I know we got to go to break. Penei Sewell got sacked in the game on Thanksgiving Day.
Yeah.
Officially has been sacked more times than he has given up sacks this year. 1-0. And then over the weekend, Louisville was playing in a basketball game. They have a walk-on named Patrick Antonelli. His mom is a Women's Hall of Famer and one of the women's college basketball hoops announcers, Debbie Antonelli. He got into the game and scored his first points with Debbie Antonelli on the call. His mom doing the color commentary of that game, and he got into the game and scored his first points.
They did the cheese
as a walk-on.
They're the Antonellis.
That's exactly right. More Zone next. All right, wrapping up the show. The Bears fired Matt Eberflus over the weekend. And so, as part of his contract, he gets the full buyout, and he gets to take home the one timeout he left on the board. So that's pretty cool, right? That's pretty nice that they gave him that timeout, too, to take with him.
Anytime he wants to use it.
Absolutely. Can Zach Morris that timeout, and the whole world freezes, and pauses, just like Zach Morris was able to do. He's got that timeout, so he gets the full contract payout and the timeout.
You know he'll use it at the wrong time. It'll be like, hey, the wife's like, hey, what do you want for dinner? Timeout.
Timeout.
Shoot.
Why did I use it there?
Shoot.
I could have used it anytime I wanted. Why did I use it? Also, why didn't I use it when there was like 37 seconds left? I think
Blame the quarterback. Blame the quarterback.
He's a dummy.